A chevonement. Chevonement. A chevonement. Not for me, thank you. Get vertigo.
Stimulating late-night sports conversation for people who know that just trying to find someone sober to talk to at this time of night is like trying to find a pig on the moon.
In the early morning mist I see.
No rules news debate from around the world and around the bend. The Two Mics
Apply more lager
on Talk Sport.
Look at the light.
Hang on, don't worry about the time. This is very important. This is national security.
Yeah.
Oh, I know he did. He did classics.
Did he?
Classic languages. Became an expert in Latin, ancient Greek.
Oh, there you go. That'll be useful.
Yeah, very useful if you go to ancient Greece. But
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. It's a very exciting weekend for all sorts of reasons. It's time to say a very good morning to Mr. Mike Porky Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
yeah, very good morning, Mike. It is a very exciting weekend, but I've discovered how you're going to spend most of that weekend.
Yes, have you?
After we've done our live show tomorrow night, Friday.
We've got a massive night tonight, I suppose you might say.
Yes,
up
that's
at the
right.
Hen and Chickens.
Yes.
Sold out, making a DVD. Very excited about that.
Very excited indeed.
That's going to take up a large part of the weekend, obviously.
No, it's not going to take up a large part of your weekend because I've just found your wine order on your desk.
About? What do you mean my wine order?
You've got you're a member of a wine club called Laithwaite's, right? And they've sent you.
Where did you find that from?
I found it.
What do you mean,
it doesn't matter.
About on my desk for?
Doesn't matter. I've got people around here who are on my side.
Oh, really?
And I have to
well,
sometimes.
that is a letdown. What, you mean you've got people sort of snitching on your behalf?
I have to store up information
I
about
thought I'd lost it, actually.
About your lifestyle, and this is Laithwaite's. It says on the front, harvest deals, save up to £72 as wineries urgently clear space for new vintage, right?
Yeah.
The Mighty Cabernet.
It's a very good catalogue.
The Mighty Cabernet,
What?
£6.99.
You mean Cabernet?
No, Cabernet.
Cavalier.
Mighty Cavalier.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it says. And it says it's the best since 1974, and then you go in, there's pages and pages and pages, but at the end is the order form.
Yeah.
Now, I look at the order form here. You've ordered 3 cases of wine to be delivered to your place down in Sussex on Saturday morning.
Well, what's wrong
so
with
it's
that?
pretty obvious how you're going to spend your weekend, isn't
I'm
it?
not going to drink 3 cases of wine.
I think it's disgusting.
Well, why is it disgusting?
Absolutely disgusting.
Why go to a supermarket and lug the stuff home, risking, breakage, risking,
I didn't know you were into
injury.
New Zealand Sauvignon.
I do quite like a bit of New Zealand
Sauvignon.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were into rare Chablis.
I am into rare Chablis, and it's a very reasonable thing. You should join up with it, because actually what you find is that you get the stuff delivered right to your door.
Yeah.
You don't have to go out for it, and it's a very interesting kind of tasting experience.
Your third one is Opie Malbec, which is described as a mighty Malbec from the master of the style, Oppie Sadler. Try it with a T-bone steak. Magnificent.
It is.
I don't even know where it comes from. Which
Malbec.
country is that from?
Well, it's usually Argentinian.
Argentinian.
Yeah.
Or
Chilean,
So
perhaps.
what we've got here is we've got a whole case of red.
Yeah.
We've got 2 cases of white.
Yeah.
So where's the rosé coming from?
Well, rosé season's over for me now, because rosé is something I generally drink in the summer months, because rosé's a kind of a summery type wine. So now it's pretty much straight down to the white and the red. Anyway, we've got loads of football to talk about.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute.
Why are you so obsessed with my drinking habits?
Because I want you in good shape for tomorrow night. We're recording our first live video.
I'm not even going to get my hands on it until Saturday.
Tens of thousands of people are going to give that video away as a Christmas present, right?
Right.
Only £10.99 from Amazon. Sorry. And
shameless plug.
I want to make sure you're in good shape on that.
I'm fine.
So,
like you said, I'm not even going to have it until Saturday.
Oh, you're telling me that your house is now empty of liquid refreshment, is it?
Well, it's not empty, but I'm not going to be there. I won't be down there until Saturday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, I'm not going down there between now and tomorrow night.
Yeah, well, no bladderation at lunchtime tomorrow. I've seen the sort of state
Absolutely
you've turned
not.
up to some of our concerts in.
Really?
With dire consequences. So, over the summer, we used to talk about the bottle of white, the W, then a red, then a rosé, then a whiskey. So this was the code over the summer, WRRW.
Which was indeed erroneous, because that's not, in fact, what I did. I did it once. I did that once when it was the Floyd Mayweather fight against Manny Pacquiao.
So now that you've got 2 cases of white, 1 of red, it's WWRW, isn't it? Sounds almost like a wrestling show.
Well, no.
It's white, red, whiskey.
No, not true.
It is.
Absolutely not. No,
it sounds like a policeman, that, doesn't it? Reading out
what happens is...
the registration plate
what
of
I'll
a
do-
villain. WWRW.
What I'll do on
W
Saturday...
for white, W for white, R for red, W whiskey.
You love this, don't you? Like you found some kind of chink in my armour.
Well, I certainly have.
There's nothing wrong with drinking wine. There is nothing wrong with ordering wine from a wine warehouse.
Bladderation tendencies.
And as it happens on Saturday, I shall be looking after my children until about 5 or 6 o'clock.
You're not capable of looking after your children after a couple of bottles of Sauvignon.
Well, I won't have a drink until probably about 6 o'clock.
6 a.m.?
6 p.m.
I thought you got up early to start drinking.
No, of course not. No, that's your story. You were the one that admits to me that you go to Wetherspoons for breakfast on a Saturday.
Yeah, but I don't have anything to drink there.
You said you could have 2 pints and a nice English breakfast for less than a tenner.
I do sometimes.
Exactly. So it's a bit more projection. So what I'll do is I'll crack open one of the nice Sauvignons probably about 6 o'clock after having chilled it sufficiently throughout the course of the day. And then with dinner I might have a bit of the Malbec, depending on what we have for dinner. Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all.
There's a few interesting ones here. What's a Chantecler?
I don't know. Sounds French, though.
Vin de France.
But, I mean, you learn an awful lot if you joined up with them. In fact, why don't you let me recommend you for joining up, and then they'll give me a £50 voucher for some more free wine.
I see, yeah. So you want to use me? You want to use me to be able to increase your bladderation budget?
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
The budget of the bladderator.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Hey, we should be talking football.
Yeah, let's talk about Brendan Rodgers, because it's all over the back pages.
Klopp.
And Jurgen Klopp, the Kloppmeister, as he's becoming known, or Jurgen Kopp, whatever way you want to look at it.
I was going to say, he's going to become the Koppmeister. Klopp.
The paper's saying that Brendan Rodgers has got 3 games to save his job. The third game, of course, is the game against Everton.
It is. Klopp the Koppite. Yeah, it is, yeah. And it's at Goodison.
I believe so.
So, that's going to be a tough one for them. But, I mean, I've got no sympathy for Liverpool, obviously.
No, of course.
Why
would you?
Well, why would I?
We'll be doing the Selco Predictor later on as well.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah,
because, I'm a student of psychology.
I understand that.
What happened? We won when we won against Chelsea, so we had an emphatic victory 3-1.
Yeah.
Liverpool had a poor result that weekend.
Yeah.
I think they drew or they might have lost. I'm not sure. Yeah. But anyway, the point of my story is on the Sunday I sent out a mischievous tweet. Not nasty, not brutal, mischievous.
Mischievous.
And it said, let's all feel for Brendan Rodgers this Sunday afternoon.
Oh, yes, I saw this one.
It's always tough being second best on Merseyside.
Yes.
Now, I thought that would produce a torrent of, vile, sort of responsive comments, for want of a better word, from a lot of Coppites and Liverpool fans. Abuse. Abuse. Well, do you know what? I didn't get one.
Yeah. And what does that tell you?
Well, that tells me that actually Liverpool fans are being incredibly pragmatic.
They are.
Pragmatic is another word for realistic.
Yes.
About the position their club is in. And so, whereas I'd normally have got, literally I would have got a volley of, what have you won in the last 50 years and all that kind of stuff. I didn't get any of that.
No.
I just got a few kind of resigned, you may be right type things.
It's sort of all gone quiet over there scenario.
That's right, yeah. So
well, I mean, we heard the Liverpool fanzine guy on the sports bar talking just before, saying, when he was asked directly, do you want Brendan Rodgers sacked? He said yes.
Yes, that's right.
Simple as that. And listen to Roy Evans, who we heard there in the opener, talking to Alan Brazil on the breakfast show. Yeah. I mean, of course, Roy Evans is going to be sympathetic because
Roy Evans is a great man when it comes to talking about Liverpool, honestly.
And he was a great manager for them as well. But I mean, for him to say, I think he needs more time. I mean, it's his 4th season now.
Yeah,
spent bucket loads of money.
I totally
How much
agree.
more time does he need?
Do you know the other thing is, Brendan Rodgers is going to find himself rather isolated. First of all, he doesn't seem to have any support from the Liverpool fans.
No.
And that is for 2 reasons, I think. One, that he was on the verge of winning the Premier League and missed it by points. It was a bit unlucky, really, but he had the world's best striker. Yeah. He had Luis Suarez. Yeah. So they think he should have done it. But secondly, they've kind of worked out that without the player that Kenny Dalglish gave him, because Luis Suarez was brought in by Dalglish when Dalglish was manager for the second time round, he hasn't got a lot more to offer. And he talks a big story. Now, over the just recent weeks, I think this idea, I mean, Rodgers is trying to make out, seriously, he's talking himself into a hole, he's trying to make out that whilst he is a manager capable of controlling a gigantic club, because he keeps telling us what a gigantic, world-famous, awe-inspiring club Liverpool is, with an awe-inspiring ground. You've got to be a big man to play at Anfield. So
it's getting bigger as well,
It's getting bigger. He's given the impression that whilst he wears this gigantic overcoat with ease to control this club, the players, many of which he's bought, are not big enough to fulfil the ambitions of the fans.
Right.
They panic when they play at Anfield. They've got to learn about the history of this club. They've got to know that you've got to be a real man and you've got to face up to responsibilities when you play at Anfield. Well, I'll tell you this. John Toshak and Kevin Keegan weren't the greatest footballers in the world until Bill Shankly and Bob Paisley got hold of them, and then they became great footballers because of the spirit they imbued into their play. They found it easy enough to play at Anfield, and in those days, Anfield was more of a cauldron than it is now because they had 20,000 people standing on the Kop. It used to sway like the seven seas of Rye. And you stood in it yourself, absolutely. And that was far more intimidating than anything any Liverpool player faces today. So he's talking absolute garbage. That's the problem, or Brendan Rodgers is. And the third point I've got to make, these points are important.
They are important.
I spoke to a Premier League manager about a month ago.
Did you?
He's actually a former Premier League manager.
Okay.
And
you don't have to give his name away.
I won't give his name away.
Okay.
And he said, honestly, he won't get much support inside the game. I said, what do you mean by that? He said, well, we all get together, we talk and all that. He said, trouble with Brendan is, if he was made of chocolate, he'd lick himself. He said he has a presumption about himself.
Or even eat himself.
Or even eat himself, yeah. He has a presumption about himself, which is uncomfortable. Considering when you look at his track record, there are men in the same room. He's talking about the League Managers Association.
Yeah, we said this yesterday.
Who actually have track records.
You need to have some kind of an ego to be a football manager.
But it's better to start winning things before you have an ego, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
But anyway, those are all the reasons why it's going to be so interesting. But the other thing is, I have to make this clear to Liverpool fans and to the world in general.
Yes.
I would be very, very suspicious about a bloke who decides to take a year off for what, a sabbatical or a rest? Or why is Jurgen Klopp not working at the moment?
Well, Jurgen Klopp decided that he wanted to have a bit of a break from football. I mean, it's an incredibly intense job. I mean, you're the kind of guy that never takes any time off.
Well, when did Sir Alex Ferguson take a year off in the 25 years he ran Manchester United?
He's now stopped working.
Never.
But he's now stopped working.
Yeah, but he's 72, for goodness sake. He deserves to stop working by now. Jurgen Klopp's half that age.
Well,
not quite half that age, but he's in his 40s.
Pep Guardiola took a year off and it didn't do him any harm.
It did him a lot of harm.
He didn't.
He's not nearly the same man now that he was then. And by the way, all this
rubbish. He took a year off to learn German, didn't he?
No, I don't think so. He took a year off because he felt overwhelmed by the greatness of Barcelona. By the way, there's some other nonsense doing the rounds that
Pep, time, by the way.
Don't worry about the time when I've got important issues. Pep Guardiola being lined up to be the next England manager.
You must be loving that story.
Drivel.
Well, we'll talk about that.
Drivel.
We'll talk about that story coming up very, very shortly. Porky's very animated tonight.
Drivel.
It's the Porky Sat-Nav quiz coming up later on, which should be absolutely hilarious. I'm predicting 0 out of 10 tonight.
We're on the road to nowhere. Come on inside. Who sang that?
Talk Sport, we are the two mics. It's Porky Quiz Night, of course, and we will be giving the Porkmeister a quiz on his knowledge of British roads after his amazing performance on the old sat-nav front the other night. Now, here's one from Tony the Gooner.
Right.
He's put a lot of thought into this. He says, evening, gents, can I make a suggestion for the format of the upcoming Porky Quiz about route planning?
Yes.
You could use Google Maps on your information device to search for the routes. This automatically generates 3 routes, which could be deemed efficient. Anything outside these answers would therefore be incorrect.
No.
This way, old Porky would not be able to claim any gerrymandering was taking place and might be able to play with a little grace for once.
No,
thanks.
I won't be having any Googling or anything like that.
No.
You've got to remember that I've spent the last 30 years or a bit more literally trailing round the earth, seeking truth and justice.
Trailing round the earth?
Yeah, well, I was looking for a proper word there. Wandering the earth, maybe, or something like that.
Like John Cain. Or
if you can find your way, Mike, from Beirut to Damascus via the Bekaa Valley.
Yeah, don't just follow the signs.
No, there's no signs. They're all blown up. Well, people are shelling you from a tank.
Right.
Then I'm telling you.
What were you driving at this point?
Sorry?
What were you driving?
I'll tell you, that's a good question. I was driving a hired Ford Fiesta, right? Seriously.
Porky goes to war.
Yeah,
in a Ford Fiesta.
Yeah, that's true.
Don't you think you should have had something slightly more kind of, bulletproof?
And unfortunately, I was driving on roads which had previously been driven on by Israeli tanks, right? So there were like
potholes.
Yeah, not potholes, like trenches 2 feet deep.
And a Ford Fiesta?
Trying to catch up with the Israeli army.
That's ridiculous.
In the Sinai Desert,
right.
and shells all over the place and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, Daily Express always does things in style.
Yeah, we do things in style. By the time I got it back to Tel Aviv Airport 10 days later, it looked like in the James Bond film when the sheriff, I got you now, boy. Yeah. Eventually when his car ends up and the door falls off and all that.
Right.
That's how this car looked.
I bet.
And I parked it round the corner from the Hertz hire place, right? just to say to the guy, he said, is everything all right? I said, everything's fine, thanks. Yeah, it's okay. Right, well, where's the vehicle? I said, I parked there. Look, can you get the paperwork sorted, please? My flight's, I've got it.
He just ran off.
No, and he was filling it in. He said, what's the mileage?
Yeah.
Oh, I said, I said, well, we've got to find that, sir. Until anyway, he sent a girl out to go and look at it. She came back, she nearly fainted.
Yeah.
She said, you must come and look at this. There was at least one burst tyre and a bent wheel, and one of the windows had been smashed,
right.
and there were scratches and dents all over it.
And had you taken the collision damage waiver?
I can't remember because it's all booked from London.
Yeah.
But we went to one place where a load of kids didn't like the look at me, so they started bricking the car. Yeah, and all this kind of stuff,
I know, it's not good. Well, listen, Tony the Goon, I very much appreciate your thoughts on this, but unfortunately the quiz is out of our hands because the quiz questions are all done by independent quiz masters, and it's already been done. I haven't seen the questions yet. But
what was that song?
That was Road to Nowhere.
Yeah, who's that?
Talking Heads.
Talking Heads, that's all right. I love that. That's
David
brilliant.
Byrne. Now,
what's his name?
David Byrne.
Yeah, and do you know what? I remember the video of that so well. Didn't somebody get into a cardboard box?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
and
that's
he had a
brilliant.
big white suit on, didn't he?
That's right. I'm on the road. He was in one of the world's biggest bands.
Did you know? Well, he was in Talking Heads.
Yeah, was that one of the world's biggest bands?
Well, it was quite a big
I
band.
always get them confused with Al's mate from the Glasgow band.
Simple Minds.
Simple Minds.
Why?
Well, Simple Minds and Talking Heads, head, mind, it's easy to confuse them, isn't it?
No,
it
not
is.
at all.
It
no,
is.
One band's American. But
Jim Kerr was the guy, wasn't he?
Jim Kerr, that's right. He went to school
yeah.
with Mr. Brazil.
Yeah, and Charlie,
Charlie
Birchall, the bass drummer.
There are things which they have more in common than you think, because David Byrne's parents are actually from Scotland.
Are they?
And they emigrated to America.
Well, there you go.
Where his old man was like an engineer.
Was he?
Working for Westinghouse or something like that.
Oh,
and apparently they speak with very broad Scottish accents. Anyway, let's talk more about Brendan Rodgers. Simon in Windsor says, as a Reading fan, I've been texting TalkSport ever since Rodgers took over that Liverpool would never win anything with him. Right. Texts have never been read out, as I suppose it's a crime to be anti-Liverpool. It's amazing what some people think, isn't it?
It's not.
Not at all. I mean, some people accuse us of being anti-Liverpool all the time.
Or anti-United.
At the Royals, he nearly destroyed the club and nearly relegated us. After recent results, it looks like I was correct all the time, he says.
When you look at his track record, and I can't remember which club it was, he got sacked at one club for being a useless coach, didn't he? Where was that? Was that at Watford? Or?
I think it was at Watford.
Yeah. And
he didn't do that well at Reading either.
But his renaissance was at Swansea, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
So over at Swansea, and everybody thought he did a brilliant job there, and all that kind of stuff. So,
but then everybody who's been through Swansea has done pretty well,
haven't they? You know, Roberto Martinez, Brendan Rodgers, and the current incumbent, who is...
Except for the guy that left, of course, under sort of a bit of a cloud.
Eh?
The guy that left under a bit of a cloud.
Cloud? What cloud?
The guy that left, the guy who came in and was a manager of Swansea and then left under a bit of a cloud, don't you remember?
No.
The Dutch guy.
Dutch man?
Yeah.
Dutch, what was his name?
Well, I'm asking you what his name was.
Well, you're making some guy up who doesn't ferment in my head.
The guy who was before Gary Monk.
Before Gary Monk?
Yeah.
Well, what was his name?
Well, surely you can think of it.
Well, tell me. Huh?
He was from Denmark, it turns out.
Oh, so he wasn't Dutch then? Well, it's no wonder I couldn't remember a Dutchman taking over at Swansea, could I? I was searching my brain for Dutch coaches,
First name Michael.
I know you're talking about.
Go.
Talking about the guy who played for Rangers.
Yeah,
he was a very good footballer.
Yeah.
And he had a brother.
Yeah, he did.
That's right.
Yeah.
Michael Laudrup.
There you go.
Laudrup, And he did all right anyway in his first season.
Now, here's one from Jason.
It
says, Brendan Rodgers to be manager of Newcastle by the end of the season. Liverpool have gone backwards since Benitez was sacked.
Oh, well, there you go. Now,
Joe says, here's another one. Klopp took a year off because he was waiting out Rodgers, not because he needed a sabbatical.
No.
He's suggesting that he knew this was coming.
Anybody takes a year off, and I would ally this.
I'd like to take a sabbatical, actually. If they gave me a year off sabbatical paid, I'd do it.
Yeah, but you know what would happen?
What do you mean?
They wouldn't take you back.
Why do you wouldn't take me back?
Well, you'd be finished, wouldn't you? You know, wasted.
That's why you don't want to go.
But that's why broadcaster, which is basically what you are.
But that's why you don't want to go on holiday, because you fear that when you went on holiday, you'd come back and somebody else would be doing your job.
No, Mike, you confuse that with I do not want to lose my edge. I need to broadcast every day to keep my edge finely honed, finely tuned. Okay, my edge has to be like that spinning wheel in a sawmill. You know, always ready to...
The saw, you mean?
Well, the thing that cuts up the wood, you know what I mean?
A saw.
That's right, the saw, yeah.
That's why it's called a sawmill.
Yeah, to cut through the conflict, to cut through all the drivel.
But it's not constantly going in a sawmill. And it's only going when they're cutting wood.
And to cut to the quick. Now, what I was going to say was...
Yeah, go on.
If you let me finish. If I
let you finish?
Yes.
That'll be first.
For a football coach like Jurgen Klopp to take a year off is equivalent to letting your 18-year-old son or daughter say, oh, Mummy and Daddy, I've worked so hard to get my A-levels, and I thought before I go to university, I'll take a year off and go on a gap year.
Yeah.
Well, that's the end of your life. Finished. I don't know anybody who's taken a gap year who ever became successful. Because it just indicates your lack of application to life, to your job, to your profession, and to your attitude to get on and make something of yourself. Nobody who takes a gap year ever succeeds.
Well,
ever.
I'm not sure. I'm sure we could find somebody who's taking a gap year.
No, I'm telling you.
I think if you were to say, though, in all seriousness, that Pep Guardiola has lost his edge because he took a year off, I think you'd be wrong.
No,
in
he
fact,
has.
Paul says, is Mr. Parry serious? A year off hurt Guardiola? In the words of Porky, utter drivel.
No, you will find it's...
well, he's won the Bundesliga, hasn't he, ever since he's been
Anybody
there?
could have won the Bundesliga with the players that were there at Bayern Munich. Anybody could. I could have. And by the way, can I just say this? Has Klopp gone completely mad if he is taking a gap year, a sabbatical or whatever, and has decided, because he's indicated, hasn't he, this started all the rumours, that, I'm ready to come back. Well, I don't blame him for that, because he realises he shouldn't be unemployed. Yeah. But to come back and say, I'll take on the challenge of Liverpool, I'm sorry, mate, dead cat bounce.
What?
Dead cat bounce.
What's a dead cat bounce?
A dead cat bounce, you know what that is?
No.
Well, if you've got a dead cat and you drop it, it doesn't bounce. It's called a dead cat bounce.
I would argue the case that it would bounce.
No,
actually.
it wouldn't. No, it doesn't, honestly.
If it's got rigor mortis, it'll definitely bounce.
No.
It'd be hard,
No,
if you drop a cat with rigor mortis, it would definitely bounce.
No, it wouldn't. You know what?
It would.
Do you know where it comes from, the dead cat bounce? If you... Now, I'm 5'9" tall, right? If I hold a live cat, in my hands, in my arms...
Yeah. Have you ever held a live cat in your arms?
I don't like to. I don't like cats.
No.
But anyway, if I hold it upside down, so the cat is looking at me and its little paws are wiggling around,
upwards,
right?
Yeah.
If you then drop that cat from this height, cats are so feline...
It'll right itself. Well, of course they're feline.
It will.
They are feline. There's no doubt about that.
It will spin itself round and land on its feet.
That's right. But it won't bounce, though.
No, it won't. That's what I mean.
So a live cat doesn't bounce?
No.
A dead cat does?
No.
So I think you got it wrong.
No, I haven't. Now, listen, if that was a dog and you cruelly did that to a dog, you'd break the dog's back because the dog wouldn't spin round.
Exactly.
So the dead cat bounce is a reference to the fact that a live cat will survive the drop, a dead cat won't.
No, a dead cat will bounce. A live cat won't.
No, it won't. It won't, honestly. I can tell. I've studied the theory of those sort of expressions to make sure I can express myself properly. Yeah. So that's all I'm saying.
You're entirely correct about this.
Why would you want to come back into the world of high-level management?
Well, because that's what he does.
Hang on. He believes himself to be very good.
Yeah.
And go to a club...
Well, I think he is very good.
And go to a club that, frankly, hasn't got a hope in hell of playing in the Champions League for at least another 2 years.
I think it's because it's the type of football club that he would like to be involved with.
Wasting 2 years of his life trying to revive, not just a sleeping giant...
No, I don't agree.
But a giant who has... What can I say about Liverpool? A giant who has meandered down the wrong road.
But he's had Borussia Dortmund...
Stumbled...
but hang on, he's had success with Borussia Dortmund. He got them to a Champions League final, right?
Stumbled into the wet sand.
Yeah.
And is now up to its knees and its thighs in liquid mud. And is finding it very difficult to move.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the situation.
But he may be the man that can dry the mud out and lift the club out of the doldrums. I think he'd be good.
I honestly don't think so.
Do you know there's an NFL game on tonight as well? I'll be keeping you updated. It's the Washington Redskins against the New York Giants, which always used to be one of my favourite games to watch. It's a bit of a local derby, really, on the East Coast.
Redskins is one of my teams, having lived there.
One of your teams?
Yeah,
What's the other team?
What?
What other team have you got?
In
NFL.
In NFL?
Yeah.
Green Bay Packers.
Really?
The Green Bay
Why?
Packers. Because a mate of mine is actually the chairman of the English fan club for Green Bay Packers. Yeah.
What state are they
down in Southampton? They're doing okay.
What state are they in? I mean, what state are they in? Not what state is the club in.
Oh, I see what you mean. I see. Well, they're in New England, aren't they?
Green Bay?
Yes.
No.
Yes, they are.
No, they're not.
Where are they?
They're in Wisconsin.
Wisconsin?
Yeah,
that's near New England.
No, it's nowhere near New England.
It's not far away.
Right, listen, anyway, look at the time.
You're talking drivel.
Look at the time.
I want to know where everybody's going to be on Saturday night for this great game, England-Wales. Because,
right.
I mean, you know what's happening there.
Mate,
it's a big test.
Look into the light for a moment.
George Ford no ruleth. Owen Farrell. It's Owen Farrell.
Yeah, Owen Farrell.
I wonder if his family... Didn't we go and see an actor called Farrell
Yeah,
once?
Will Farrell.
Oh, Will Farrell, yeah. Okay.
Anyway, that's a different story. Look into the light for a moment. We're already running terribly late, and we've only been doing the show for half an hour. This is Talk Sport. Coming up, we're going to talk to Rebecca Lowe about Liverpool's crisis.
Okay.
Darling, you got to let me know. Should I stay or should I go? If you say that you are mine, I'll be here till the end of time.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. We've got loads going. We've got Selco Predictor to come up as well. You're currently 401st in the league. and I am, of course, slightly further up the table at 91st, I think. Now, just a little clarification on dead cat bounce, right? Dead cat bounce is a reference made in the financial markets to a small recovery that seems to be fleeting, which means that actually even a dead cat will bounce. Yeah, well, which is what I was saying.
Yeah, but minimally.
Yeah, but it will bounce as opposed to a live cat, which won't bounce.
No, well, it's minimal. So, in my word, minimalism is like as good as nothing.
I think you've got it slightly mixed up. Anyway, let's talk to Rebecca Lowe, a woman who knows an awful lot more about these things than we do. See what she makes of what's going on at Liverpool. Rebecca, very good morning to you. Welcome.
Good morning, gentlemen. Can I just start by saying that I actually took a gap year and it hasn't been so horrendous.
You've done rather well for yourself, Rebecca, considering the terrible acrimony that Mr. Parry said you should have suffered.
Tell us, Rebecca, how did you spend your gap year?
I actually went to high school in America. I wanted to, I was a bit of a geek and loved school in England, and I finished school a little bit early, so I was a bit young, so I didn't want to go backpacking. I wasn't really a backpacking type, so I went to a high school in Pennsylvania and did the final year of American high school.
Well, that's brilliant. But you see, what I'm saying is, Rebecca, you didn't waste your time backpacking around Australia, drinking tins of lager and swimming with dolphins like most people do and waste their time. So I'm delighted.
So you're going to reassess your statement that anyone who takes a gap year is a loser.
That wasn't even a gap year, as far as I'm concerned. That was an improvement year. Rebecca was determined to improve herself, and she certainly did. And as Mr. Graham said, you have now carved out a brilliant career. And within that career, Rebecca, we want to know what you think about the current situation at Liverpool, please.
Well, I've been listening to you guys over the last half an hour. I think I agree with so much of what you say. It's very difficult to disagree. However, the one area in which I don't think gets talked about enough is that I'm just not 100% convinced that Brendan Rodgers is the sole man in charge of recruitment. We know that there is a recruitment board. So, and the problem appears to be the players he's buying. And is he buying them? Are they buying them? Is it a group decision? What is it? And I think it would be nice to get a bit of clarification. We're not going to get that because if it's not him buying them, then they're not going to own up to it. And he's certainly not going to. So I think that is a difficult grey area because he has spent so much money. There's no doubt about that. And as Mike Graham said, he's into his fourth year and he's not won a trophy. And I think it's been 40 years. But
Rebecca, in reply to that, I would say, seriously, if he's in that position where he hasn't got total control of the players coming in, he shouldn't be in that position. He'd be strong enough to say, either I buy or I'm out. Sir Alex Ferguson would never have put up with it.
No, but then Sir Alex Ferguson is no longer, and that whole era is no longer. And I just don't think there are many managers. There are a handful of managers who have that sole authority. I don't think if you asked Pochettino at Spurs, does he solely buy the players? I don't think he does.
Definitely not.
I mean, we know that Baldini was there. I think he's left now. So I just don't think that's part of a manager's job as much as it used to be. I also, a big part of me wants to give him more time because I always hark back to Ferguson and the early years of his reign and then look how that turned out to be. And Rodgers, I know he didn't do well at Watford and as a Reading fan who texted in, that you guys said he didn't do well at Reading, but he did do well at Swansea. Yes, so did most other managers. But I just think he has, the Kop had a flag with his face on. They don't do that for everybody. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that those streets were packed with fans and it was like they'd won the league. I know they haven't, but they didn't. But I just feel uncomfortable with a man who we built up to being a future Real Madrid, Barcelona and England manager just to start him.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not sure I built him up to be a future Real Madrid Barcelona fan. Maybe it was that gap year, Rebecca, that put you on the back foot on that one. But I mean, let's talk about the time that he's had. I mean, having been in now his fourth year in Premier League football, he's going to be one of the longest-serving managers in the business, right? And also, he knows the club inside out. He's supposed to talk. He talks an awful lot about the Anfield kind of, fear factor, and now that the players are suffering from it rather than the opposition. But in the end, whether he has to work within a framework whereby he isn't the sole guy who chooses who comes in and who goes out, that's the job. And that's what everybody else, whether it's Pochettino, whether it's Manuel Pellegrini, whether even it's Jose Mourinho, they have to work with the job in hand. They have to do what they can with the tools that they're given. So, I mean, if he's not good enough to do that, then surely it's time to find someone who is.
But he has been good enough. I mean, he has been good enough 2 years ago. You can say, like, oh, no one's, you weren't building him up to be Barcelona manager, but people were, Mike. I mean, in those heady days of a year and a half ago, people were building this guy up as the
But Rebecca, that was based entirely on Luis Suarez.
I know.
Entirely.
Yeah.
And also, sorry to interrupt. Yeah. If in fact, you say, well, he's only able to do what he can with the players that he's provided with. He was provided with Luis Suarez, so no wonder he did well with him. But
exactly.
The trick is to do well with players who are not that good.
I know. I'm trying to play slightly devil's advocate and slightly just trying to temper it, but I just find it distasteful how we get rid of managers, whether it's after 4 years or 4 days. I just don't like it. But as I said to you at the beginning, it's very difficult to fully disagree with what you're saying because he does seem to have lost faith, or the fans have totally lost faith in him. The players don't seem to be playing for him. The players are not good enough. They're not playing. The other thing that he's done is which I think is a shame, is that he's completely abandoned his philosophy. So he turns up at Liverpool with a kind of playing style that they so crave, and he did it. Yes, I know he had Suarez and Sterling and Sturridge, but he did it, and he had Gerrard as well. And now, I mean, they're lumping out to Benteke. They can't pass the ball more than 5 yards, and he seems to have abandoned it through desperation. And I think that ultimately a manager, if you get fired on what you believe in. Don't get fired having changed because you'll regret it the rest of your life.
Yeah, and do you know another thing, Rebecca? I think fans' attitudes towards managers have changed completely. I mean, Sir Alex Ferguson's latest book is out, and you'll know a lot about him because he's got a place over in New York. But there was a very interesting chapter in this latest one called Leadership, where he said to the owners, the Glazers, look, I don't mind us signing this player, whichever player it was at the time, Van Nistelrooy or somebody, but if you're going to pay him £200,000 a week, you've got to double my salary because I only get £100,000 a week. So managers are now ranked in the superstar status earning brackets. And only about 6 weeks ago, we read that Brendan Rodgers, who's involved in a separation with his wife, will have to do something about the 52 properties that he owns in the north and west of England.
I mean, I'm not sure that I agree that's not fair. I mean, I think it was Rooney actually when he was getting a new contract.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, $250,000 a week. Yeah. And
didn't he ask for like a pound more or something like that?
Well, he said I've got to be the highest. No player will get paid more than me. Yeah.
But why should he not? He is the one ultimately who has to pay with his job, the manager.
Yes.
Or ultimately has to pull out the result. So why should a player in the dressing room get paid more than the man whose neck is on the line? Those players' necks aren't on the line.
No.
But Sir Alex Ferguson's neck was on the line, so Brendan Rodgers should get paid as much, if not more, than the highest earner in that dressing room.
Well, that's a new concept, though, seriously. You know, in the days of the Bill Shankleys and the Bob Pacers and all that, you had to pay your centre forward an awful lot of money, but the manager used to get half of that. So it is a new concept, and all I'm saying is that, whereas there used to be fan sympathy for the manager toiling against the massive egos of these overpaid players, I think the fans now see the manager as one of them, so to speak.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I mean, we've had a couple of tweets already from people saying, it never sounds good when people are willing for somebody to lose their job.
Yeah.
Losing a job as a football manager is not the same as losing a job in a steelworks up in the north of England. Let's stop pretending. Let's stop pretending that it is, because he's going to. If he does get fired, he's going to walk away with several £1 million, and he's not going to be worrying too much for the rest of his life. But let me ask you this, Rebecca: will Jurgen Klopp be the Liverpool manager before Christmas? What do you think?
I've got more of a feeling for Ancelotti than I have for Klopp.
Really?
I have. I know that
he's still at Madrid, isn't he?
No.
Hey?
Benitez is manager of Real Madrid.
Sorry, I've got the wrong. I'm sorry, I've got the wrong face in my head.
You've got the wrong face in your head. You've got the wrong face on your face as well.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah. No, do you know why? I was just thinking of Benitez because he's got the most expensive house on the Wirral from the time when he was Liverpool manager.
There's no point trying to get out of it now.
No, it's true.
Rebecca, sorry, carry on.
No, I'm just getting more of a feeling for Ancelotti. I think that of course he's there's no quotes or anything, but I just think that the kind of club that it is would suit him. He's very different to Brendan Rodgers in lots of ways. I just think that is a level of glamour. I mean, Jurgen Klopp did very, very well up to a point with Borussia Dortmund, but I just feel with Ancelotti he's a level up. And if at Liverpool and the owners want to get to the place that they promised the fans that they were going to get to when they took over this club from Hicks and Gillette, 4 or 5 years ago, then they have to go for category A+. Will
the fans accept Ancelotti after he's did so well at Chelsea?
He's got a great pedigree.
Yeah, I know, but would they accept him?
I can't see why they wouldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, if personally, I don't know, I'm not a Liverpool fan. You have to ask them, but I would. if I was a fan.
Yeah, no, I take what you're saying there. Absolutely, take anybody who's got a track record like his.
And finally, Rebecca, what do you think this weekend? I mean, some of the papers are saying he's got 3 games to save his job. He's got a Europa League game in the middle. He's got Aston Villa this weekend, and he's got Everton. You think if they don't beat Aston Villa, then it's going to be a massive problem for him?
I think the Everton game, Mike, is the one that we're going to have to look to. I think
that's Monday night, actually.
Is it week Monday?
No, it's next Monday night. It's the last game of the weekend.
Yeah, it's a week Monday, as she just said.
Hey?
A week Monday.
A week Monday?
Yeah. No, she just said.
Yeah, not this Monday.
Well, it's not Monday night, is it?
West Brom Everton this Monday.
That's what I said. I said West Brom Everton's Monday. Oh, sorry, you were talking about Everton Liverpool.
Yes.
Oh, I'm awfully sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Yeah. No. That's a very important
the nurse
game.
in tonight, I think.
And that is actually 2 weeks this weekend, isn't it?
Right. Okay.
Yes.
Well, whenever that is.
Yes.
As soon as Porky's worked out his calendar, you feel free to answer the question, Rebecca.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
That is the game that I would think is a make or break. I think Villa, he hasn't got Benteke, and I think, is it away at Villa? I forget, or is it home?
It's home.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe the Europa League. I don't think that matters at all.
No, I agree.
I think the Merseyside derby could be the make or break.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and I think Everton are favourites to win that already. So there we are.
You would, Mike.
Well, yeah, but we've got such a sort of fantastic defence now. Old John Stones, John Stones didn't go to Chelsea. Money can't buy me stones.
Yeah,
so
thanks very much. Rebecca, thank you so much for putting up with all of those rambling thoughts from Mr. Parry.
Well,
delightful to talk to you. We'll talk to you again soon.
I'm sorry, mate. I was lost in thoughts there.
Oh, you're supposed to be lost in thoughts about the matters in hand.
I know, but I was thinking of...
You think about that dead cat bouncing?
No, I was thinking of Benitez when you were talking about Ancelotti, and I got the wrong face in my head. And then when Rebecca was talking about the fixture, I thought she was talking about this weekend. So that's why I said
this weekend
it was
is
Monday night.
Liverpool Aston Villa.
Yes, I know that.
And next Sunday, which is a week on Sunday, is Everton Liverpool.
Exactly.
So it's not 2 weeks from now.
No, but it's two weekends. That's what I meant. Yeah.
Dear God.
Okay.
Right.
Right.
We'll get the translators in for the next part of the show.
Absolutely.
We've got lots and lots of great tweets from you. You send them in at the 2 Mikes, at Mike Parry, at IROMG. This is Talk Sport.
Football crazy. Expert lineup.
Talk Sport.
This is Talk Sport. We are the 2 Mikes. It's Porky quiz night, of course, and it's going to be a sat-nav type test for Porky later on. We asked yesterday for a lot of submissions on routes that we should ask him questions about, and he has to name the roads.
And we got a few.
And you have to name the roads. Well, the quizmasters have got them all. They're putting the quiz together as we speak. Let me read you a few tweets out here. A lot of people have been reacting to your dead cat bounce comments.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Mark and Alan and Lee have all kind of said the same thing. Lee says, how can a dead cat survive when it's already dead?
Yes.
Alan of Kidderminster says, Mr. Parry, how can a dead cat survive?
Well, I said
Mark
that.
says, the dead cat will certainly not survive the bounce because it's already dead.
That's what I said.
More Porky wisdom.
No, the dead cat bounce means there is no bounce.
No, it means
That's
there
the
is
whole
a bounce.
point. No, it isn't. There's no bounce.
There is a bounce, but it's only for a little while.
The dead cat bounce means...
It's a financial phrase.
It's a 1% revival, you see what I mean? Because then when you drop a dead cat on the floor, it just sort of goes...
No, it bounces because it's got rigor mortis.
No, it doesn't.
Let me read you the next bit.
Yeah,
here's one from Ian in Cumbernauld. He says, Mike, I just dropped my cat upside down from my height, 5'4", and it landed on its back.
Well, that's cruelty.
It says, see you at the garage in December.
We'll see you at the garage, mate, all right. But that's in...
The garage.
Sauchiehall Street.
Garage.
The garage.
I've got to practice saying it.
The garage.
Tony says, if you drop a live cat, it won't survive, but if you drop a dead cat, it will survive. If it's dead, how can it survive?
Yeah, well...
He's quoting you there.
Yeah, I don't think this is a matter for great discussion. It was a throwaway comment I made as an expression which I picked up during my years...
You used it incorrectly.
During my years as an executive in Fleet Street. In fact, I first heard that from Sir Nicholas Lloyd.
Oh, yeah.
Our esteemed editor of the Daily Express.
I think you misunderstood the
context. Who came back from America after, piling on some freebie at the Carlisle Hotel, where he had a suite and all that kind of stuff.
I stayed there the night of my wedding.
Oh, did you? At the Carlisle?
Yeah.
Oh, amazing, yeah. And, by the way, he always used to complain because his wife, who was Lady Eve Pollard, for some unknown reason, what he couldn't work out, and I have to say, this is a facet of female behaviour, which is a bit odd.
Yeah.
They'd go all the way to America, and then they'd have to buy extra suitcases to come back because he would always go to Bloomingdale's and buy a load of sheets.
Yeah.
And he used to say, I don't know why she can't buy sheets in Harrods in London. You know, why all these sheets back from Bloomingdale's?
I know, it's really a rich person's disease.
But very nice people.
Addy says this, tell that plank Porky Steve Jobs took a sabbatical before he founded Apple.
Who did?
Steve Jobs.
Yeah, but Steve Jobs was a genius who went away to think about how to develop all these machines.
Yeah.
I think old, what's his name, who does Google for
what's his name,
Facebook?
Mark Zuckerberg.
Zuckerberg, you know, the billionaire at the age of 26 or something. Right. I think he took he just opted out of Yale, didn't he?
Yeah, well, he went to Harvard, I think, didn't he?
Opted out of Harvard, took a year off, then returned and made a billion quid. Right. That's not a bad way to do it. So that's all right, isn't it? The professor says, I've taken a year off and I might not even go back after the year. I'm enjoying life. I should have done it before. Who says that?
Professor in Mexico.
And
here's Becky in New Zealand. As a fellow Green Bay Packers fan, you went up considerably in my estimation. Please tweet a photo of your cheese head.
Yeah, OK, yeah, I'll get a cheese and put it on my head. Good idea. Mind you, the sort of cheeses that I eat, which are... and my favourite cheese is white crumbly Cheshire.
Is it?
Yeah, it's from Cheshire, where I come from.
Oh, right.
We used to eat it in...
Well, they call it Cheshire, I suppose.
In crusty rolls in the King's Head. The old King's Head. It's ye old King's Head. Yeah, well, you're not for now.
Because every story has a pub in it.
No.
The only stories haven't got a pub in it.
No, we used to eat it.
I thought that would be a challenge to you, wouldn't it? Could you tell me a story involving you that doesn't have a pub in it?
Of course I could. There's plenty of stories from wine bars. Ye old King's Head in Lowbridge Street in Chester, the old Cheshire White Crumbly and the crusty rolls. Absolutely marvellous, with a few pints of real Cheshire ale. Yes,
well, I'm very glad to hear it.
Yes,
and here's a picture of a cheesehead fan, because they're called the Cheeseheads, of course, as you will know,
right,
because they come from Wisconsin, which is a dairy state.
That's brilliant.
That's why they make all the cheese.
That's great. It's great, isn't it, to have sort of a passion for your locality.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's what I love about places like Liverpool and Newcastle and Manchester and Leeds and Glasgow, where we're going, of course.
Yes, indeed.
Because they all have this, Birmingham, where we're going as well. They all have this fantastic regional identity, which they're very proud of, and we've got to be. You've got to be really, really proud of your regional identity. If you're not, it means something's missing.
Well, I'm very proud of being from London. That's my regional identity.
Yeah, but you see,
one of the greatest cities, if not the greatest city in the entire world.
The problem is, Mike, London is such a big city.
Doesn't matter.
To say I'm a Londoner, maybe it's because I'm a Londoner.
I don't agree.
The definition of a Londoner really is a sort of...
Somebody from London?
No, it's...
Which is what I am.
It's some greasy, dirty old bloke who walks around in a suit.
No. London is St Paul's Cathedral.
No.
London is the Royal Opera House. London is the Shard.
I'm talking about...
London is the Tube Network. London is the Tate. London is the River Thames. London is Canary Wharf. You want any more?
Yeah, I'm talking about the pearly kings and queens.
Don't talk rubbish.
Right, well, that's what I'm saying. So I met one of these once, right? It was on some demonstration or something like that.
Demonstration?
Filthy, dirty old
Pearly kings
suit.
and queens are very much part of old London, right? But, and they're not filthy and dirty either.
The suits they wear
they're not.
No, they are. Mike, let me tell you, they're literally made of buttons sewed onto a suit,
right?
I
know that.
And you can't clean them. They're uncleanable. So the pearly kings and queens, you see, with all their button suits and all that, their suits
it's a bit like my barber. You can't clean that either.
30, they're 30, 40 years old. They've never been cleaned.
Yeah.
So consequently, they're walking around in really, sort of flea-infested sort of clothes. It's not their fault. They're just nobody's around who makes pearly king and queen suits anymore.
That's not true either.
No, this is true. It is true, honestly.
Now, here's one from World Traveller who has tweeted...
Oh, sorry, just before I finish.
Oh, go on.
Somebody pointed out that, you can only call yourself a Londoner if you're born within the sound of Bow Bells.
The Bow Bells.
Bow Bells. Yeah. The problem is, the property now within the sound of Bow Bells is all million pound stuff.
Well, it certainly is.
So the real Londoners can't live there anymore because they can't afford it.
And that's not true anyway. If you're born in London, you're a Londoner, as simple as that. Rebecca feels distasteful, says World Traveller, to talk of getting rid of Rodgers so soon. One word, Roy Hodgson, discarded without respect, which is pretty true, actually.
Well, yes, he was, wasn't he?
I mean, he was pretty unceremonially dumped, wasn't he?
Well, because they did it that way with Roy Hodgson, it might well be that they're taking a more measured view with
the word is,
Rodgers.
as I'm sure you know, having the inside track on many of these things, the word is that John W. Henry is quite keen
John
W. is quite keen to move Mr. Rodgers on.
Yes.
But there are other people on this side of the Atlantic who are urging caution and saying, give the guy more time. So, I mean, since he's basically the owner of the club, you would think that this will happen sooner rather than later.
Well, if you did him now, Liverpool would certainly start to be acquiring a reputation for ruthlessly sacking their bosses, wouldn't they?
I suppose so.
Because Kenny Dalglish...
Yeah, but that's the reputation that this guy has.
Kenny Dalglish went pretty damn rapidly in a season when he won the League Cup and got to the semi-final of the FA Cup.
But he went for other reasons, didn't he?
In fact, he got to the final, didn't he?
But he went for other reasons, didn't he? He went because I think they felt that he'd not played the part of the Liverpool manager's role particularly well over the whole Suarez thing, the T-shirts and all of that.
I think there's an element of that to it, but nevertheless, what I'm saying is it's ruthless. Dalglish is such a huge. What's the word I'm looking for? Presence, huge presence at Anfield.
Personality.
To do that. And by the way, you have to take your hat off to Dalglish because to this day he still appears in the director's box. So he's not walking around holding a grudge or anything like that.
Why would he?
He's pragmatic and understood it was for the better.
He's got a much easier job now that he's not manager, that's for sure.
Yeah, sure he has.
Rob says this, once again Porky fails to listen to a live guest. He still thought Ancelotti was Madrid manager.
No, I didn't.
#confused.com.
No, I agree. I confused two managers like that because you've got to remember I'm like Ray Reardon was when Ray Reardon was a snooker player. I'm 17 moves ahead of myself, and all I did was in my head I've got a picture file, and I just transposed the picture of Ancelotti for Benitez. That was all.
Right?
Yeah.
How can you account for saying that there aren't any caves inland from the sea then?
Well, I mean that's all a load of rubbish. We've stopped talking about caves. We talked about Fingal's cave, didn't we?
We did talk about Fingal's cave.
So we don't talk about caves
Lee
anymore.
from Hull says this. Hi, Mike and Mike. I'm a Liverpool fan, and I want Rodgers gone because he's no idea, and he spent £300 million.
Well, you see, this is the problem. That Everton-Liverpool game is going to be a cracker, isn't it? Because it's going to be a cracker, get it? Belfast, even Belfast, going to be a cracker.
Well, it's going to be a meeting of two former Swansea managers, isn't it?
Yes, certainly is,
at the end of the day.
Yeah, it is.
Who have Everton got this week, then?
We've got, I told you all this, didn't I, when I got the weekends confused. It's West Brom on Monday night away. Yeah.
Is it Monday night? Are you sure?
I'm sure, of course I'm sure. Right. I've been invited.
You've been invited?
Of course I have.
You haven't told me that.
Well, there's no reason to tell you because I declined to go, even though I was invited into my my acquaintance's box, my mate's box, because, I wish to be here with you to continue.
It would be difficult to get back from there to here in time, wouldn't it?
Well, I wouldn't do it, would I? I'd have to take the night off, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be here with you to pursue the mission that the two mics have here at Talk Sport to provide the best possible output on this wonderful radio station.
Well, we wouldn't take the night off without counsel from each other. I mean, I would never consider taking the night off without saying to you, look, there's something very important that's come up. Would you mind terribly if I took the night off? I wouldn't make the decision without consulting you.
Well, no, I know what you mean.
But you've obviously made the decision already.
I've made the decision not to take the night off, so why did I have to discuss that with you?
Because you didn't mention it to me at all.
Well, why would I want to mention it to you?
Because you might have included me in the knowledge that you had been invited.
Well, what would you have said if I'd have said...
what if you'd said, for example, maybe we should both go up to do West Brom Everton and take the night off?
No, they wouldn't want you in their box, honestly.
Why not?
But just wouldn't. Why would they want you in the box?
How do you know that?
Well, you don't know. They invite friends in the Midlands. They're influential people. They're shakers and movers.
But usually people, how about movers and shakers?
They don't want some fat bum loser to share their box.
Well, why are they inviting you then?
No, you don't understand me. I'm referring to you, not me.
Oh, I see.
You've got to remember, mate, by the way, that I was once a very senior executive on the Birmingham Evening Mail.
Oh, yeah?
Right,
How senior?
Which is
how senior?
I was assistant news editor. And, sorry? What's your problem?
That's about number 28 in the total poll then. Assistant news editor.
At the age of 23.
So what?
And then
I was running my own company at the age of 23.
And then
in New York.
And then went on to become the London editor of the Birmingham Evening Mail, the biggest regional newspaper in the country at the time.
People from Birmingham in London.
I covered everything. In fact, funnily enough, one of the most dramatic ones I did was I had to rush to the High Court at about 3:30 in the afternoon when it was suddenly announced...
Well, straight out of the pub.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. When it was suddenly announced that Lord Denning, who was the Master of the Rolls then, who lived till the age of about 92 and still sat on the bench, was going to announce the judgment on whether or not the appeal against the Birmingham Six had succeeded or not. And I went up into the High Court, just caught it in time, and he turned their appeal down.
Yeah.
It was the one they lost.
Well,
and they went back to jail.
Okay.
And we had to change up at 4:00 in the afternoon.
Well, you must be conscious of the time then.
To splash all that. Of course, I'm conscious of the time.
Well, look at it now.
You don't use your time usefully. I do.
Look at it now. This is TalkSport. We are the two mics. There will, of course, be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. So far, the podcasts have all gone off very smoothly this week. Thank goodness. Hopefully, we'll have the same going on later on. Rob says this on Twitter at the two mics. Mike Parry talking about his favourite cheese. I'm surprised it's not in a tin like most of his food.
You don't get cheese in a tin.
You probably can get cheese in a tin.
No, you don't. You get it in plastic, sealed wrap.
Well, I bet you somebody makes cheese in a tin.
I very much doubt it.
An army of listeners will be able to
identify
something. Now, what about this from Liz, who says, I've stayed up and listened to you and you haven't retweeted a thing I say. I don't think I want to be the first Mrs. Parry now.
Right. Who says that?
Liz.
Liz?
Yeah.
Well, we'll retweet it then.
I'll retweet it
right now. That, thank you. I've got one here from Liz as well, because I thought the young lady tries very hard, so we should recognise her. It says, I do believe that old Mike Parry is the Ray Winstone of radio. He is so objectionable, but you can't help love him. Well, I do. Well, Liz, that's very kind of you, honestly.
I think she said that one before the last one, though.
No, I don't think so. And also, she's gone on about rambling here. I'm not sure what this is all about.
Rambling?
You know, when I was searching
you know plenty about rambling.
I was searching for that word about wandering the earth, but I couldn't find the right word for wandering. She says, I think you mean ramble. Hope that bird isn't one of Mike Parry's cast-offs. I'm to be the FMP.
Which bird?
I don't know. I don't think I've referred to a bird as such, but I think she's using the word a bird for woman. You see what I mean?
I've got a story about birds to talk to you about,
which is an expression I would never use because I find it, rather disrespectful.
No, I wouldn't use it either.
Yeah.
I've got a story about birds that I spotted a bit earlier on today.
Oh, yeah.
It's about why so many birds... No, it's about why so many birds come to Britain. And apparently one of the reasons they come to Britain is because they get very well fed here from people's bird tables and gardens. So the migration habits of birds has actually been changed by the way that people feed the birds.
That's rubbish. I'm an expert on birds because I'm a member of a duck conservancy.
Well, you're maybe an expert on ducks. It doesn't make you an expert on all migrating birds.
It's rubbish. How many birds do you think feed on the average bird table in a back garden?
Well, I mean...
3.
How many bird tables do you think there are in Britain?
Yeah, well...
Probably millions.
All I'm saying is...
Also, multiply 3 by millions.
No, there aren't millions of bird tables. No, definitely not.
I've got a bird table down in Sussex.
Yeah, well, you live...
Have you got a bird table?
Have I got a bird table? I've got provisions to assist birds.
You've got what?
Provisions to assist birds.
Provisions to assist birds?
Yes.
But not a bird table?
Well, not as such.
Have you got one of those hanging things?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's the equivalent of a bird table, right? So you've got one, right?
Yeah.
Our producer, Dave, has got one. His parents have got one. He's just told me. Yeah, so that's 4 right there.
They're for our native birds who are already here.
Well, no, but my point is the birds are migrating here because the food's so good.
Yeah, but you've got the whole wrong end of the stick. They go to the wetlands. They go to places like...
no, they come to the bird
Norfolk.
Tables. No, they come to the bird tables.
No, they go to the wetlands of Norfolk.
Well, I'll get the story for you
and the Thames Estuary. And the Solent, where I live, you see huge hordes of geese flying in all the time, and they feed on all those little animals that scurry around in the mud when the tide goes out and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but they also come for the bird tables. That's my point.
Well, I'm not sure about that. Listen, I want to tell you about because obviously being the TV reviewer, Downton Abbey and all that, right? And in the latest episode. A woman turns up and tries to blackmail Lady Mary.
Yeah, we talked about this last night.
I know we did. But, the blackmailer was very much a Liverpool girl.
Oh, yeah.
She talked like a Scouser.
She did, yeah.
And, of course, a lot of people now from that part of the world, from Liverpool, in fact, are saying, why did you perpetuate this myth that all people from Liverpool are thieves and vagabonds? Of course it's rubbish.
Because she was in a hotel in Liverpool.
Exactly.
The girl was a chambermaid working in a hotel in Liverpool.
Exactly.
And despite what anybody might say about what was going on in the 1920s, I don't think there was a great deal of movement of workforces. If you were born and raised in Liverpool, you worked in a Liverpool hotel.
Yeah.
Didn't you?
Sorry?
You worked in a Liverpool hotel if you were from Liverpool, so mostly
you did,
that's why you would have a Liverpool accent.
That's true. But honestly, you're quite right. I mean, they're saying, why have you stereotyped us again? So Liverpudlian fan Paul Smith, so disgusted, he wrote to the producers and complained. He said, can ask why the Scouse girl on Sunday was a thief. If that's all you think Scousers are, you're a disgrace.
I think that's taking it a bit too far.
I do as well. Ruined the show for me. Another chap called Colin Leonard, also from Liverpool, said the negative stereotyping had made him switch off. And Claire Cassidy, another Liverpool resident, said the first ever Scouser on Downton Abbey portrayed as a thief. Brilliant. Good to know the stereotype existed in the 30s too.
That's not actually true. One, it was the 20s, so it's got the decade wrong.
It was 1925,
Actually, there were plenty of Liverpudlians portrayed in the episode when they went to the hotel for the Rogerisation in the first place.
Yes.
There were plenty of Liverpudlians who were not portrayed as thieves. So
yes, that's right.
I think they're getting way too sensitive about that.
Yes.
Now, let me refer back to my bird story, okay? Because I've got it here. This is a study that's been done where they say one particular species now heads to the UK for the winter rather than to sunny Spain.
And which species is it?
It is called the black cap. the
black cap. I know the black cap.
Breeds in southern Germany and Austria.
They're called the black cap because they've got a black cap on top of their heads.
And this is a study done by the British Trust for Ornithology.
Oh, yeah.
You know what ornithology is, don't you?
Yeah, of course I do.
What is it?
It's a study of birds.
Very good. The findings come in a study over 12 winters involving 14,000 volunteers who put out food and submitted information on birds visiting their gardens.
Right.
This is the first time that we've shown that feeding birds actually influences the distribution of a bird species across the whole country. There is strong evidence that black-cap occupancy rates are influenced by both supplementary food as well as climatic temperature.
Ah.
Right?
Yeah, right.
So there's more black-caps coming here because people are feeding them.
Yeah, OK. But, I mean, mostly speaking, they feed on estuary marshes and that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Well, that's not what the study says.
Well, the study's wrong because, I
it's
see
done
these
by
things.
the ornithologists.
I know, but I stand on my balcony with a pair of binoculars in my hand and I see these birds swooping in and out of the, the sky, going down into the Solent. Yeah, going down to the Solent.
Well, those are different. Those are seabirds, aren't they?
No. They come from the horizon. You see them coming from miles away, like a black cloud. You know what I mean? So I know these things. So
like
don't worry about it.
Like a black cloud?
Yeah, don't...
What sort of binoculars have you got, anyway? How powerful are they?
Oh, massively powerful.
Really?
Massively powerful.
They must be quite big, then.
They're huge, and I can see the Isle of Wight from my balcony.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you got them on a stick?
Do you mean a tripod?
Well, you could have them on a tripod or a stick.
No, they're on a tripod.
Yeah.
And actually, it's not hard to see the Isle of Wight because the Isle of Wight is a massive bit of rock, to be honest.
It is quite hard to see it if it's misty, though, I imagine.
Well, if it's misty, that's true.
You see the moon tonight, by the way. The moon's very nice tonight.
Moon.
I didn't want you to sing.
River.
It's 12-0, by the way, to the Giants now.
Oh, yeah, we're all very interested in that. Did you know that if you go to the top of Blackpool Tower, you can see the Isle of Man?
Really?
Yes.
On a clear day?
Yes. Didn't know that, did you?
I've been to the top of Blackpool Tower. I can't remember seeing the Isle of Man, but it was a very long time ago.
There is a point, isn't there, on the English coastline where on a clear day you can see France.
Yes, there is. And also from Turnberry, you can see the lights of Northern Ireland of an evening.
From Turnberry?
From Turnberry, which is in Scotland.
Yes, of course it is. There's a golf course there.
You look past Ailsa Craig, which is this beautiful rock where a load of puffins live.
Yep.
In the Irish, sort of Northern Irish Sea.
Yes.
And you can see the lights of Northern Ireland.
Excellent. That's fantastic.
Very exciting.
I never knew that. Blimey, I must go there and have a look
should.
at that.
It's owned by Donald Trump now.
Change my life, that will.
It would.
Right, OK.
Now, here's one from Becky in New Zealand again. Who says, as a true Cockney and proud Londoner, Porky has gone too far. No. Early kings and queens, pie and mash, jelly deals to Mr. North.
Oh, it's all a bit of a myth now, though, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Hey, look, here's some tinned cheese as well.
Nah, there's no tinned cheese.
Kraft, pasteurised cheese in a tin.
Good God, well, I wouldn't eat that.
I'm surprised you wouldn't.
I wouldn't eat that, honestly.
That's like that sort of processed cheese.
That doesn't look much at all.
It's called pasteurised processed cheese, cheddar cheese product. Oh. It's the kind of thing you could sort of spread on a bit of toast or something.
I mean, I'd only buy cheese that I can actually see. You know what I mean? You wouldn't buy something No, you can't. You have to take the lid off the tin and no, it's not for me. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Absolutely no way for me. Thank you.
All right, we'll look into light for a moment. We've got loads more to do.
We've got loads and loads. I want to talk to you about the Gestapo in a minute.
This is Talk Sport.
What's your problem?
This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. The Porky quiz coming up as well. I've got a couple of other stories to talk to you. Somebody's put out a cookbook. Which is actually entitled, like Eating for One, and some of the worst recipes that some people have come up with.
Why would I be interested in that?
Well, because I think some of your recipes might be included in it.
Well, I haven't got recipes.
Well, you have. You told us one the other night where you wrapped a load of salmon up in a bit of lettuce.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
you got your pear flan.
Yeah. Yes, true.
You've got your spaghetti bolognese.
Yes.
You do. You've got your blackened tomatoes.
My what?
Blackened tomatoes that you like to do. You've got your boiled, any vegetable you like.
Don't forget the cheese casserole. The chicken casserole.
Oh, you haven't told us about chicken casserole.
Yeah, I do chicken casserole often.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll get to that.
Just put 4 cheese... I keep saying cheese because I'm just seeing this picture of the cheese in the tin and I find it revolting. I get 4 chicken breasts, right, and I put them in a casserole dish.
Yeah, right.
With
is it sort of Perspex thing?
No. It's
stoneware.
No, it's Denby, which is a very famous Denby, and it's a blue one. My mum bought me.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
She bought me a whole set of Denby, actually.
See, that's such a waste for somebody like you to have all that. I'd love to have a set of that.
I've got a huge set of Denby.
Yeah, but you don't use it.
Well, I've got 2 sets. I've got one on the coast,
why don't you give one
which
to
is
me?
black and white, and I've got one in Surrey,
why don't you
which
give
is
one
blue.
to me?
Because my mum gave me them. I'm not going to give them away, am I? I use them all the time.
Well, you do not use them all the time.
Anyway, in the casserole dish, right, you put in 4 chicken breasts,
Yeah.
Skinless, obviously.
Yeah.
And then I buy a big bag of...
Why don't you use chicken on the bone? It cooks. It gives it much better flavour.
No.
Much better flavour.
Too much messing around. Then you get a big bag of what's called autumn vegetables from Sainsbury's.
Autumn vegetables?
Yeah.
Right, such as? Cabbage?
No, carrots and turnips and Swedes and all that kind of stuff, okay?
Ooh,
yeah.
Like
and you tip that
I'm
in.
not a fan of turnips.
And then you put a tin of soup in. And then...
A tin of soup?
Yes.
What sort of soup?
Vegetable soup.
Vegetable
yes.
soup? Like broth?
Yes, that's right, like broth, that's right. And then you put in, like, all the spices and all that kind of stuff.
All the spices?
Yeah.
What, you mean salt and pepper?
No, coriander.
Oh.
Origo.
Origo,
is it? Is it origo? Coriander.
Origo, yeah.
What is it?
Carry on.
Yeah.
Oregano.
What?
Oregano.
Is it oregano? Okay,
well, it's called oregano here.
Oregano, that's right, yeah. Basil.
Basil.
Yeah. Mint.
Mint?
Yeah.
I wouldn't put mint in it.
And an OXO cube.
Right.
Right?
Any particular kind?
Well, like a ordinary OXO cube.
Well, what, a beef one?
Yeah, of course, beef
Why
one.
would you put a chicken one in?
Well, because I like to mix the flavours.
I see.
And then, other stuff, and then you put it, parsnips and that kind of stuff. And then you put it in the oven for about an hour or a bit, hour and a half, hour and a quarter. And then you've got a chicken casserole. Easy.
Right.
Easy peasy, mate. And serve that with some boiled potatoes. Brilliant. Yeah, what do you think?
Well, that sounds
you don't seem very impressed.
Very nice.
You can't take your eyes off your information machine.
Well, because I'm trying to keep up with the tweets, right? Here's one from a guy who doesn't give his name. He says, "Hi, Mike and Mike. I can vouch for all the migrating birds that flock to England for food.
Yes.
I've met plenty of them, and they all want me to be taking them out for dinner. Ha ha ha.
Yes.
Yeah, not very funny.
We don't talk about women like that on this show. I'm sorry. We have more respect for the
absolutely shocking
the females amongst us. Now, I was going to tell you about the Gestapo.
What are you going to tell me about the Gestapo?
Well, there's not a lot more to tell about the Gestapo.
There isn't
because,
really.
Hundreds
Is there a new
of books.
book out or something?
It's a new book. It's called The Gestapo, The Myth and the Reality, right?
Yeah.
But there's one fact in it which I found so astonishing. I just had to share it with our millions of listeners, OK? Now, you know what the Gestapo got up to, some very unpleasant things.
I don't really want to talk about that.
No, I don't either. But there's one thing here which I was going to warn you about, should the revolution ever happen.
What revolution?
Well, you never know, do you?
What do you mean, a revolution in this country?
Well, I mean, Mr Corbyn is now the leader of the opposition. He's got some very, very strong views about how he wants to see...
I know that he wants to get power by... I mean, he's been in the House of Parliament for 32 years. I don't think he's going to plot a revolution anytime soon. Well,
there's no way, according to political experts, that the Labour Party he leads can get a parliamentary democracy. That's what the experts say.
Yeah.
So I've spoken to other experts who say, well, they could go for direct action, i.e., demonstrations on the streets and all that kind of stuff.
What do you mean, would attempt to bring the government down by civil disobedience?
Well, I don't think they want to bring the government down. I think they want to make their point, forcefully and vocally and all that kind of stuff. So I'm thinking, revolution could happen. If it does, all I'm going to warn you is don't go around writing graffiti on the walls. If you wrote for something like, Corbyn is a loser.
Right.
If there was a Gestapo around, you know what they do?
What?
They go and get handwriting experts and they examine the graffiti on the wall.
Yeah.
And in the case of the Gestapo, it was people who are writing anti-Hitler graffiti.
Well, it's a bit like the Stasi did as well in East Germany many years later.
That's right. The Stasi evolved from the Gestapo, but I'll tell you about it in a minute. But they're like, down with Hitler, or Hitler is a loser, or really crude things, Hitler is a, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They'd get a writing expert in to have a look at this, and then they would send Gestapo officers around every house within 5 miles, every house.
Right.
And when you knocked on when you answered the door, they'd have a white piece of paper and a pad, and they'd say, "You must write on this pad, Heil Hitler." What are you laughing at?
Right, okay.
What are you laughing at?
Well, I'm not sure that's how they spoke.
They did,
They probably said it in German for a start.
Heil Hitler, the Führer is our father.
Yeah.
And so the people had to write this.
Yeah.
And then they take all these thousands of bits of paper back to the handwriting expert.
Yeah.
He would then identify who the graffiti writer
surely
was.
Writing on a bit of paper is different from writing on a wall, isn't it?
Well, apparently it's not. Apparently it's the same handwriting. Handwriting's unique to the individual. And then when you're identified as the graffiti writer...
Well, if you do the graffiti with your left hand, that's a cunning way of getting around it.
Yeah, but I don't think people knew how thorough the Gestapo were, so I don't think they ever thought about it in advance,
Right.
And then...
Plus, they didn't have spray paint in those days either, did they? They didn't have spray
paint in those days, no. And then within a few hours of being identified as the...
culprit.
The culprit who'd been insulting, the Führer and all that, you were on the last train to Clarksville, mate. Yeah. Except it wasn't headed to Clarksville, if you know what I mean.
Clarksville?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, here's one from William, who says, do you know, Porky, that you can see as many as 16 counties from the top of Broadway Tower?
Wow.
I'm not sure I know where Broadway Tower is.
Broadway Tower?
What's Broadway Tower? Is that in Broadway?
Well, no. Oh, hang on.
You mean in the Cotswolds? You mean in the Cotswolds?
Well, I've been up to the top of Broadway Tower, actually. Well, I know it is.
Is that in Broadway, then?
It is, yeah. It's in Broadway. Right. See, Broadway is a cul-de-sac. You go up the street, past that great hotel on the left, which I forgot the name of now.
Yeah, me too, yeah.
Brilliant hotel. I'll remember it in a minute.
Okay.
And you can't go much further. There's just houses. And in fact, young Andy Townsend has a place up there as well. But then you turn right, you go through a farmyard, and you go past a load of hunting dogs, okay? They're beagles.
Yeah.
And then you walk out the back of that farm, because it's a public path.
Right, a bit more rambling.
And then you go up what's called Broadway Mount.
Okay.
And at the top,
it's a bit like Glastonbury Tor, then.
It is, yeah, except it's bigger, I think. And at the top, I went up there a couple of times when we were staying there because we were doing Cheltenham.
Yeah.
There's the most incredible sense of stillness and peace. I mean, also, I felt like a Buddhist monk.
Yeah.
And, all you can hear is the air whistling around your ears.
Well, it's like that in the country.
Yes, I know, but it's very remote because it's very high up. And all I did was sit there one afternoon and watch helicopters fluttering out of Cheltenham Racecourse.
That's really quiet.
Well, no.
That must have shattered the illusion. Helicopters coming in and out.
They were miles away. You couldn't even hear the rotors and all that kind of stuff. But it is a very, very peaceful place. So I can well believe that, yeah. Although I wouldn't be able to count the 16 counties, you could see. But anyway, there we are.
Is it the Broadway Hotel?
No, it's called the something and something. It sounds like a pub, but it's a 4-star, 5-star hotel.
Yeah, the Lig and Arms.
The Lig and Arms, that's the one.
That's
yeah,
it. Yeah,
Lig and Arms.
Yeah, I've never stayed there though.
Oh yeah, no, it's beautiful. I've stayed
think
there.
Tanks and things.
Stayed there. We had dinner there. It was rather nice. Yeah.
The Scouser has texted at 81089. Right. He's Mr. Parry. I've obtained feta cheese in a tin in Bulgaria.
No thanks, not for me.
You're probably not a fan of feta cheese.
I've never been to Bulgaria actually.
Yeah.
Have you?
I haven't been to Bulgaria. No. You went to Romania though, didn't you, for an Everton game?
I went to Romania. Yeah. That was an amazing experience. But I'll tell you about it.
I've got a funny story to tell about the dog, actually.
Your dog?
Do you know the dog has blocked you, by the way?
Don't be ridiculous.
You've been blocked on Twitter by the dog.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I won't. In that case, I won't send the dog any more
well, you won't be able to.
affectionate tweets.
Well, you won't be able to.
Which is what I do. Hi, dog, have you been fed today? Hi, dog, have you been exercised today?
No, you don't send...
Hi, dog.
No, but the point is, the reason you've been blocked by the dog is because the dog got fed up with you constantly insulting his owner.
Okay.
That's why he got fed up.
Okay, has your owner stroke master found you any mates to play with?
Well, the funny thing that happened today, right,
was
that it was around about dog's dinner time, right?
Yes.
Which is around about 5 o'clock.
Yes.
And put his dinner out for him, but we put it in a, just on the sort of windowsill where he could see.
I understand.
And I thought, what do you mean, I understand?
Yeah, I understand.
I can already tell that you're not interested in the story.
Of course I am. Go on.
So I thought, well, I'll take him for a quick walk.
Yeah, good.
Because time was of the essence.
That.
It's parents' night. I had to go up to school and all sorts of things. So I thought I'll take him out for a walk. Put him on, put the lead on him. Took him out the gate. And sort of, I keep the lead on him as we walk down the road till we get to the field, and I take the lead off. As we were walking down the road, he kept looking behind, which he sometimes does because there's horses and stuff that walk backwards and forwards, or other dogs or whatever. And he kept looking over his shoulder. I was like, "Well, you keep looking over his shoulder for?" Keep walking, kept going. Got to the field. Took the lead off, and he ran around a little bit in the field, and I started walking him up to the top of the field, which is where he then has another big run.
Right.
And he was very sort of, sluggish and not very keen to follow me.
Right.
And I got about sort of, 50 yards ahead of him, and I looked back, and he just kept looking behind him. And I thought, well, he must have seen another dog or something, right? And then suddenly he started walking, not particularly quickly, but just walking in the opposite direction away from me, back towards the beginning of the field.
So the 50 yards becomes 60 yards?
So, I then turned around and I started calling him, and he didn't come back, which he normally does. I shook the bag of treats at him, which he normally comes for. Didn't come for that. I walked back over, and he suddenly disappeared over this little hill. Got to the other side of the hill. There was another dog there, sure enough, but he'd walked past that dog. And do you know what he'd done?
No.
He basically just decided to walk home because he wanted his dinner. So he just carried on, and he was as I tried to catch up with him.
I thought you said you'd given him his dinner before you came out.
No, we didn't. No, we put his dinner out. But, it needs to kind of cool down and all that kind of thing. So he hadn't eaten it yet,
Well,
right?
what's a stupid thing to do?
No, normally you walk him before he has his dinner.
Rubbish.
But the
not
dog...
when you put the dinner out
so the
dog is hungry once he's not.
So the dog now, basically, he's just taking it upon himself. He's like, no, forget that. I don't want to go for a walk. I'm just going to go home.
Well, I don't
and he literally walked all the way home.
Well, good dog, that's what I say. Supposing...
Very disobedient.
Supposing we go off to a restaurant, right? Yeah. And we say, for instance, we'll have a lovely steak or something like that. And the two waiters bring it, put the food on the table, and then they say, excuse me, before you're allowed to eat in here, you must go for a 15-minute walk.
Well, that's a bit of a different situation.
It's not a different situation. And I tell you what, I'd go all right, but you'd be looking behind yourself. Where's my juicy steak? Because I need it. You would.
I thought it was shocking.
I think that's a really daft thing to do. That just shows how incompetent you are at keeping a dog. I bet you were also using your mobile phone while you were out there.
I wasn't.
That drives a dog insane.
No, I wasn't.
Because you're not paying enough attention to the dog.
No, I wasn't.
Have you found him any playmates?
He gets playmates every day.
Rubbish.
In fact, but this was the point. He normally would have played with the dog, but he walked right past the dog that he would have otherwise had to play around with.
Because you're starving him.
Because he was so absolutely single-mindedly heading back to the house.
Because you're not giving him enough food.
Not true.
Poor dog doesn't want to go walking when there's food on the table. He wants his nosh.
Yeah, well, anyway, he's blocked you on Twitter.
If you couldn't, well, I don't think he has. I think somebody else has. And if you couldn't even work that out, I don't think you deserve to be in charge of a dog. I think there's something
what makes you think I give a monkey's what you think?
What do you mean?
Well, who cares what you think about whether I'm capable of looking after a dog?
You might not, but our millions of listeners like me raising these points with you to make sure you are actually
my dog is very happy.
Capable of looking after and keeping a dog.
Happiest dog in Christendom.
Well, I'll find out about that pretty soon, because I'm going to come down and see you one weekend, right, and just check the circumstances in which the dog lives. I'm telling you, it's a mission.
We shall see.
It's a mission in life.
He is Mike Parry.
About that.
I'm Mike Graham. Coming up, we're going over to Beijing to find out what George Osborne is up to.
Excellent.
This is Talk Sport.
Excellent.
Talk Sport.
And it's in!
A diving header at the end of a 50-yard run.
From the root to the tip.
Talk Sport.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mites. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on, of course. I can tell you that it's 15-3 now, the New York Giants against the Washington Redskins, because I've had a tweet from Tony who says, don't listen to Porky, keep the NFL updates coming. So I'm just going to keep doing that. Right now, we're going to go across to Beijing, though, and catch up with our good friend, Mr. Peter Smith, because George Osborne was visiting the parish this week, and while his boss, David Cameron's been dealing with all manner of lurid allegations, he's been touring not just the factories and the cities, but also the football business as well. Peter, a very good morning to you. Welcome. Peter's not there.
No, he's not there, so I'm sorry. The satellite to China is not currently functioning, but don't worry about that.
So, are you there now, Peter?
I am. It keeps cutting out.
Yeah,
technology's not helping us.
Excellent. Well, listen, I don't know whether you were able to hear any of what we were saying there, but George Osborne's been in China for a week. What have the Chinese made of the Chancellor of the Exchequer, for a start?
Well, there's a couple of things. I think that also this is seen as perhaps a bit of an introduction to who might be possibly the next Prime Minister of the UK. So that's one of the ways it's been actually heralded as well. And also as well, one of the top people in the UK government, the man who pulls all the purse strings back in the UK. So I think it's been greeted really quite favourably that China seems to be getting really preferential treatment, particularly when it comes to money for football coaches, which seems rather strange.
Yeah, Peter, what I found rather strange was, and you've just endorsed the point, so George Osborne pitches up in China, this could be the next British Prime Minister, and the leader of China is so impressed he pushes off to the White House to go and see President Obama.
Absolutely. I think that tells us more, really, about where Britain is in the pecking order these days.
Exactly.
We've been knocked down a few pegs. I think we have to basically face it that we're not at the top table anymore. But maybe that's what he's trying to do, Osborne. He's trying to put Britain back at the top table, and he's trying to do these things. For example, the linking of the stock markets, which is. It's only a plan at the moment, but really quite controversial when you consider the fluctuations in the Chinese markets only a few weeks back. Do we really want to link to that?
Well, that was one of the questions posed here by those who are not entirely on George Osborne's side politically. Who said, is this the most sensible thing that he could come up with? Because if the FT index was indeed linked, it would have lost as much, if not more, than the Chinese stock market did just in the past few months. Have we lost him? I think he's still there.
Yeah, Peter, hi. You still there?
No, we've lost him again.
Oh, we lost him again. Do you know what? When we do get
somebody's
Peter,
interfering with this?
No, I don't. You mean the Chinese government or something like that?
Yeah.
Well, who knows? They've got a very big secret service, the Chinese. They're like the Gestapo, but not as bad.
Did I tell you I was being followed by a lot of Japanese people suddenly now on Twitter?
Yeah, on Twitter, not following down the streets. When we get Peter through, the clarity of his voice is great.
Yeah.
Peter, good to have you back.
Yeah, we've got him on the phone now, the old-fashioned way. Peter, is that better?
Yeah, I think that the good old-fashioned technology might be better than the modern internet stuff.
Excellent. Peter, I want to tell you about something which does work very successfully in the relationship between England or Great Britain, United Kingdom and China. Mike, my broadcasting colleague here with me, and we did a show in a place called Portsmouth quite recently, a live show in the theatre.
A place called Portsmouth?
What do you mean?
You don't think he's heard of it?
Yeah, exactly.
He's been living in Beijing for a few years. I think he's still heard of Portsmouth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but the Guildhall Portsmouth, and you know what? The biggest group of students that we saw around in Portsmouth that weekend were Chinese. I mean, I'm talking
Chinese people.
I did hundreds of them, if not thousands, and that is something which the Chinese middle class are now doing, isn't it? Sending their kids to universities in England.
Well, exactly, Mike. And really, I have to say as well, it's quite interesting you touched on that, because one of the hot jobs going at the moment for people particularly working in the media or PR or this side of kind of field is trying to get hold of young people in China working for UK universities, actually. Right. So, I mean, I'm in touch now with the University of Nottingham for this very purpose, to attract students. So, yes, they've become, of course, that British universities can charge a lot more for foreign students than they're allowed to charge for domestic. So there's a reason for them doing it,
But has the recent sort of economic downturn affected the number of Chinese young people, perhaps, that are travelling abroad as much? And has it affected sort of the investment that a lot of the Chinese companies have been making here as well?
Well, I think long term it will. If there's less money really going around, that will affect the parents of these students, who will be the ones picking up the tab ultimately. There's no extra money in the UK to pay for the studies of these students, and we're expecting to get the money from China. But I think when it comes to a matter of ambition and what young people want to do, a lot of them want to go studying, not just in the UK, but in other countries as well, America, Australia, even Germany and France, which seem to be popular study destinations too. It is a market, an international market for young students, and the British universities are just trying to compete in that market.
Yeah, absolutely right. Now, getting back to football, Pete, and there's a lot of money sloshing around in China, despite the correction that we're going through at the moment. Chinese entrepreneurs will have an eye on English football clubs to purchase them, to run them. Do you hear much about that over there? And, I mean, how prominent and big is football in the daily routine of life in China?
Well, I mean, I've always been surprised. I mean, living in a city like Beijing. In the whole of Beijing, I think I was told there are 30 football pitches. 30? In a city, wow. 30.
Wow.
Basically. I've played on two of them. I play on two of them. So I've always been surprised, really, when it comes to the participation, which seems to be really very little. You don't speak to many Chinese men who say, no, I'm off down to play a game, this afternoon. I've often been surprised by that. And then, really, when you put that against the interest in as a spectator sport and the interest in the Premier League, obviously this is going to be very welcome from George Osborne. I suppose this money will definitely go towards the building of new pitches, which is definitely going to attract and increase interest in the game here. But it does make you wonder why Britain has to do this, considering the amount of money already sloshing around in China.
Yeah. Well, also considering what is often the complaint in Britain from the European perspective, that there are so many fewer coaches of football in this country than there are in Spain, than there are in Germany, than there are in France, Italy, and grassroots football in this country is always complaining that there isn't enough money going around. So it just seems like a very sort of left field thing for him to do.
I think one of the things is that football is seen as one of the major international cultural exports and touchstones for Britain, for particularly for England and the Premier League these days, of course. So I think that George Osborne is just really trying to ride that train, shall we say, as an extra way to court popularity here in China. It would be, for example, like him announcing, I don't know, scones with strawberry and cream, and it's something as English and quintessential as that. I think he's trying to really link it to this quintessential English game as a way to tap into China. But when you consider the amount of money, it's not actually that much on a global scale. But it just makes you wonder surely if the Chinese are that interested, they should be doing these kinds of things themselves. It's a little bit strange.
It's a little bit strange. The only thing you could say is that we do have the most successful football league in the world, in the English Premier League, and obviously people watch it there. So, I don't know, maybe George Osborne is offering to import into China our expertise at running football, and that comes along with a £3 million...
that's great, isn't it? Our expertise at running football. One of the great things Britain are horrendous at.
We are expert at running football.
Well, the Premier League is well run, but not the rest of it.
Well, I'm saying that's where we're expert at running football, and that could be. I mean, any trade mission has to encompass the biggest industries. Football, without doubt, in Britain is one of the biggest £1 billion industries.
Absolutely. I mean, just makes you wonder, though, how much of that, the money generated by the game in the UK, in England, is actually staying in England as well. Because
it does,
obviously, the number of non-British players in the game is one thing, but also when you look at the ownership of clubs now. I mean, for my sins, I'm a Bolton Wanderers fan.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, I know it's been a rough few years, but I know for a fact that they've been out here looking for potential investment, because you might know that Bolton are on their knees financially.
Yeah. Well, there was also meant to be a sort of a group looking at buying Aston Villa at one point, or West Brom, wasn't there?
Yeah, I mean, that's it. I mean, where do you go? Where do these clubs go if they need the investment? They go to the place where the money is, and China's just part of that. It's only a matter of time before someone like Jack Ma, one of the most successful businessmen in China, gets hold of a Premier League club. It's going to happen eventually. Yeah. I'm just hoping it's Bolton Wanderers and we can become the new Chelsea or something.
Well, you never know. Live in hope. There's no reason why that couldn't be the case.
We do know, honestly. It won't happen. Not Bolton Wanderers, not Chelsea. Sorry.
It could happen. It could.
Very much doubt it.
Peter, thank you very much indeed. Peter Smith there reporting into us from Beijing on George Osborne's trip over there. He spent a whole week there and for some bizarre reason wants to do all sorts of new business with the Chinese. But we'll see whether any of that actually happens. We got lots more to do here. I'm going to tell you about this new book that's come out about, sorry-looking food.
Sorry-looking food?
Yeah, sorry-looking food. I think you could contribute to it. This is Talk Sport with the two mics.
You can't go on thinking nothing's wrong. Who's gonna drive you home tonight?
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. It's Porky Quiz Night, of course, don't forget.
Yep.
So the theme of driving is very much running through the show.
It certainly is.
We'll be talking about how to get from point A to point B.
It certainly is.
It's going to be very, very exciting. Now, we talked about the Volkswagen scandal yesterday. We had a guest on from America, right? The story on the front page of the Daily Mail today, I think, will send shivers down everybody who owns a diesel car. It says, test every diesel in the UK.
I know.
And this is the Transport Minister who's apparently going to order that every single diesel car in the country is going to have to be retested for emissions.
It's a guy gone mad. Well, I mean, I've just ordered a new diesel car, a 3-litre diesel engine.
Well, never mind that.
Shall I ring him up and say, no, give me a petrol engine instead?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of people will be doing that.
Yeah, well, I do as well.
Because what this guy, Patrick McLaughlin, is saying
is
that, first of all, there are now stories in the paper starting to appear that BMW might be involved as well. They're not really sure. But certainly other German car men. I mean, they haven't got to Mercedes yet, but they might do. But, I mean, imagine how long it's going to take to get every single diesel car brought to a testing centre and tested. I mean, it'll take years, won't it?
Ridiculous.
I don't know how many millions of diesel cars there are in this country, but there must be an awful lot.
It's absolutely ridiculous. And by the way, somebody needs to do one of these Q&As. What is the problem? What is it all about?
No.
And apparently it's all about this, because I've tracked this down. Apparently, what they do is they issue emission figures for these cars and engines, okay? Yeah. But the emission figures they've known for years are done under laboratory conditions. Right. And when you take that engine and put it in a car out on the streets, so it's stopping and starting, and it's sometimes urban, it's sometimes motorway and all that, the emission figures are completely different to laboratory figures.
And you know how this came out? Because I just discovered this story.
Yes.
In fact, I tweeted it out today.
Yes.
With some kind of environmental group who decided to test cars independently when they were in California.
Right.
And when they tested them, actually in roadside conditions, they were horrified.
Totally different to the official figures.
Well, not only was it totally different, it was so far off the original figures that they thought there must be some kind of mistake.
That's right. So
they
totally misleading.
So they reported it to the Department for Transport in America. Yeah. And that's how this whole scandal came came about. But it's an extraordinary state of affairs that they're now saying that every diesel car basically might be so dangerously polluting that they'll have to be taken off the road.
It's disgraceful, isn't it? Now, listen, we need to talk more about cars because there are other interesting aspects of motoring which we need to relay to our millions of listeners.
Well, one of the things that's slightly bothering me is that I've got to take my car for an MOT on Monday. Yeah, well, it's not an old wreck. I mean, it looks all right. But I don't know.
The one with all the dents in the front that you haven't bothered to get repaired.
Well, it's got the dents in the front I didn't repair because it was £2,000 the car to buy. Right? They wanted 400 quid to fix it. So I said, well, there's no reason to.
So the minute an MOT inspector looks at that car, he'll think wreck because it's got dents in the bonnet.
Well, it's got dents in the bonnet.
Huge gouging dents, by the way.
But the dent in the bonnet is not something... I mean, you can have a dent in the bonnet. It doesn't mean you fail the MOT.
Do you know what I think is disgraceful?
What?
I've seen about half a dozen police cars in the last 24 hours in and around London. Filthy. They don't wash them anymore.
Well, they probably haven't got anywhere to take them.
They don't wash police cars anymore. It's disgraceful. Yeah. Now, another thing I need to tell you, and I'm concerned about your MOT, because sometimes your MOT can rack up half the value of a car as well.
Well, I mean, it's entirely possible they'll come to me and say you need to replace the catalytic converter, or I don't want
couple of new tyres, windscreen wipers,
maybe I don't think the lights are okay.
Bit of welding underneath because the subframe's dodgy.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and I've got to make a decision because if they come to me and they say it's going to cost X amount, say £1,000 to fix your car, I have to then wonder about whether it's worth doing
another old wreck.
Well, you say that, but the thing is, I mean, I couldn't get much better of a car for the money that I paid for that. I don't think.
I agree. It's been a good little servant travelling around London.
It's been tremendous.
Not bad.
But do you know what's happened to it as well? I didn't tell you this.
What's that?
The back light has been popped by somebody banging into it.
No. What? I've not told you about it?
It's a tiny little hole, yeah.
Well, you can replace the backlight, can't you?
Well, no, but it's a whole big panel, though, isn't it, on a Mercedes? It's like the whole thing. I don't think you can just replace...
The bulb?
No, not the bulb. The plastic that covers it.
Somebody's broken it?
The red plastic,
So what colour is the light now?
Well, then it's fine. There's literally a tiny hole in the side.
Yeah, but does it mean that the red effect on the light has now gone white?
No. If you're driving behind me, it's still red.
In that case, I can't see a problem.
Well, you can't have a hole in the light, can you? Because the rain will get in.
The rain will get in.
So I bet you any money I'll have to replace the whole thing.
Well, you probably will. But listen, what you should do is, instead of going to, a proper Mercedes parts, go to a scrapyard.
No, I go to my local garage. That's where they fix it.
Go to a scrapyard and get a light. Anyway, look, there's other aspects of motoring we've got to relay.
Yeah, go on.
Now, 1/3 of road accidents lead to whiplash claims. Do you know that? 1/3 of all road accidents in this country.
That's because of these ambulance chasing lawyers, though.
Almost 1/3 of road accidents result in a claim for a whiplash-style injury, amid warnings of aggressive new tactics being used by ambulance-chasing legal firms.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah, well, that's the problem. I mean, lawyers are the bane of our existence, I'm sorry to say. I mean, I've got many friends who are lawyers, and they're very nice people, but as a general profession, they are responsible for ratcheting up the cost of everything.
But it's getting even worse than that. Yeah. Listen to this. Criminal gangs are deliberately causing car accidents so they can threaten and intimidate drivers into handing over cash at the scene of the crash.
Right.
Literally. Now, this happened to me in Tijuana in Mexico many years ago. When I was a kid, I was on the west coast of America, drove down from Hollywood.
Yeah, it's a long drive.
No, it's not. It's not that far.
Well, it's a few hours, isn't it?
Yeah, it was 2.5 hours.
I mean, it's close. No, from Hollywood. Yeah. You come from San Diego, maybe.
No. We went through San Diego, actually, and then onto the Mexican border. And over there, we were warned by the customs officers, be very careful. It was a lovely hire car, and quite an expensive one. It was a nice American model.
Don't they have a rule that you're not supposed to take American cars south of the border?
Well, it wasn't in those days. Now,
if they're hire cars, particularly.
If it's a hire car, you have to put it in a compound now, and you get on a bus and all that kind of stuff. But in those days, you could take them in. And they said, why? They said, the latest trick is somebody will just drive into your car deliberately, and then they say their brother's got a garage around the corner, and we'll fix it for you, and they'll fleece you for $5,000 on your American Express card and all that,
Right.
So here we go. Anyway, this has come to this country. Insurers have warned of a startling rise in new type of crime that involves commons smashing their car into innocent drivers. Now, I couldn't believe this was on the streets of Britain when I first read it.
I know.
It is on the streets of Britain.
Remember, there was a scam of this type up in somewhere like Birmingham, do you remember?
Yeah.
And there was
a guy was found to have
But there was a gang of people on one particular roundabout, and they just used to stop their car on a roundabout.
And wait for a car to run into the back of them.
Yeah.
And they were spotted by office workers in a nearby block and fingers. It's happening all over the place. Terrifying variation of a scam that already exists, known as crash for cash. Fraudsters deliberately cause an accident by unexpectedly slamming on their brakes or reversing into the vehicle behind at traffic lights. Because the law states the driver behind is always at fault, the crooks claim on the victim's insurance for vehicle on the road. But insurers now are telling criminal gangs who found a new way to get cash, instead of making an insurance claim, they've been caught threatening the victim at the scene of the crash and demanding payment there and then.
That's shocking.
They ask for up to £200 with crowbars in their hands. I mean, this is outrageous.
That is outrageous.
The police have got to clamp down on this.
And the problem is that your insurance and my insurance then goes up as a result of insurance companies being forced to pay out on these kind of things.
But I mean, there's a lady who writes a column in a lot of newspapers and magazines called Melissa Kite, and she wrote a great piece about this. She was driven into by another car, and the driver of the other car got out and handed her a piece of paper with all his details on.
Right.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, name, address, you know...
What, just fill this in?
No, he'd already written it out.
Right.
So she made the point, how did he know he was going to have an accident and have his name and address and his insurance details written there? And immediately said, I want you to settle now and all this kind of stuff.
Blimey.
Case went on for 3 years. But it also meant over those 3 years, her insurance policy each year went up by percentages of up to 50%. Yeah. And then she had to fight a battle when she was exonerated, because it found out to be a scam. She had to fight a battle to get all that money back from the previous 3 years. It's a horrendous case.
It's absolutely
horrendous
awful.
case. So many people in this country now don't have insurance. So
there's meant to be about 1 million cars on the road.
You're at risk all the time.
That have no, I mean, you see them all the time. I mean, when I drive down, there's a big 50-mile-an-hour zone, basically, when you come out of the Blackwall Tunnel until you get to near the M25. Right? And there's loads of cameras. And I mean, all the people that you see speeding are people who obviously don't care about getting a ticket because they haven't, either they've got cars stolen, or the car isn't registered, or it's not insured, and they don't give a monkey's.
Or some of them live in a house with like 8 people in it. They might be a group of people who all work in the same place or something like that.
Could be.
And all they say is, well, we don't know who was driving on that day. And then the police can't prosecute. Now, I've got another fascinating fact about driving.
Go on.
You will be amazed, as will our millions of listeners. Listen to this. It's about Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
Right. Now, he had a terrible time at the Singapore Grand Prix.
Yes.
And previously, he'd had a terrible time at the Monaco Grand Prix, OK?
Yeah.
Guess what?
What? It's the Japanese Grand Prix this weekend, by the way.
It's the Japanese Grand Prix this weekend. The answer could be in the stars.
What do you mean?
During those 2 races, up in the astral planes, OK, it was Mercury retrograde weekend.
What?
Mercury retrograde weekend.
What, you mean the planet Mercury?
The planet Mercury appears to go backwards. It is apparently in reverse right now and was also in reverse when Hamilton and Mercedes mucked up spectacularly at the Monaco Grand Prix in May.
Well, why was he the only one that mucked up?
Well, it affected him in some way, they're saying.
What, so as usual, this sort of is the balderdash that you come out with.
No.
It affects one guy, but doesn't affect anybody else.
No. What I'm saying is, it might affect, he might have the sort of constitution in his body which is suddenly making contact.
Yeah, or he might not have.
Well, you explain it. How come the 2 weekends...
Well, Lewis Hamilton messes up a lot on the racetrack.
No,
because of the way he drives.
This season, he has only messed up on 2 weekends.
Yeah.
And on both weekends, Mercury retrograde was in effect in the astral planes, OK? Mercury was going backwards.
Yeah.
The planet is supposed to go forwards, like the Earth.
I feel like we're going backwards as well.
No, like the Earth. But
I feel like I'm hurtling through space backwards.
No. But very occasionally it goes backwards, and it's called Mercury retrograde.
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 Grade.
Grade. Grade.
Yeah, you're saying retrograde.
Retrograde.
As in Gatorade.
Right, OK.
Yeah, right.
And seriously, astrologists are wondering whether this could have affected the way he was driving his car. I don't know why you're laughing.
You've gone mad.
Why are you laughing?
Are you worried about the world ending and the blood moon coming on the 28th as well?
No, I'm not. But how do you explain that? An amazing coincidence.
Well, it's not an amazing coincidence.
It is amazing.
Why is he the only driver affected? Did they explain that?
No, but you see, the thing is, there might be chemical, things in his brain which are...
Well, let's examine exactly what happened to his car.
Empathetic to Mercury retrograde.
Well, let's examine what happened to his car in those 2 races, right?
Yeah,
what happened? Tell me.
Well, in the second one in Singapore, he simply couldn't get any speed out of it.
Right, so what do you think that had to do with?
His right foot.
It was the magnetic pull of the Mercury retrograde scenario.
It could have been.
And why didn't it affect any other car?
I can't explain that, Mike.
Well, it's not true.
But how can you explain?
Rubbish.
How can you explain why the Earth circles round the sun? You can't, can you?
What do you mean? How can you explain it?
Well,
you can actually explain it by physics.
Yes, I know you can in a very detailed way, but I don't know. All I'm saying is.
You know, like some kind of superstitious native from some forgotten island in the South Pacific.
Listen, all I can tell you is this. Nobody who knows about mechanics can explain why he failed so badly in Singapore. The car wouldn't pick up any pace. He couldn't get it around the circuit. There was nothing wrong with the car. When they checked the car afterwards, there was nothing wring with the car.
Nothing wrong with the car?
Literally nothing wrong with the car. In Monaco, it's exactly the same.
What happened in Monaco?
Well, he just failed to get up any pace and get round the course.
Right.
And again, they couldn't find anything wrong with his car. So they're saying, when they looked at it and they went into, every possible explanation, could it have been Mercury retrograde?
No. The answer is no. It's like some kind of question in the Daily Mail. Is the world going to end on September the 28th? No.
No, don't be ridiculous. What I'm saying, I don't know how you can dismiss it. You're dismissing it because you don't understand it.
I can dismiss it because it's mumbo-jumbo.
Ignorance is the greatest barrier to progress.
Well, you haven't asked.
Ignorance.
You haven't answered the question.
Greatest barrier to progress. What question?
These people are not proving anything.
I didn't say they're proving
anything.
They're
asking a question which they can't answer.
I'm saying it's a consideration which must come under examination.
Is it
possible can't just dismiss it like that?
Mercury going backwards has pulled this power out of one car in a Formula One race?
That's the question that's being asked.
Are you really being serious?
That is the question that's being asked.
Have you gone mad?
No, I have not gone mad. I have an open mind to these things because I'm able to expand my mode of thinking.
Have you seen the time?
You
the next
are
question.
not. Well, listen, I don't mind going into a break now because I want to try and shake you out of your indolence and your lack of professional judgment.
Okay. This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on, of course. And for those of you who are coming to the Headed Chickens later on tonight, it's a 7 o'clock start. So we are filming a DVD, so it needs to be pretty prompt, I'm afraid. So we'll be doing that later on tonight. A couple of tweets for you on the Hamilton front.
Okay.
Here's one from Scott in Grimsby.
Yes.
He says, "Hi, Mike. There was nothing wrong with Hamilton's car or speed in Monaco. His team made the mistake of pitting him needlessly, and he ended up behind his teammate."
Yeah, but the influence of the retrograde, what did I say it was, Mercury retrograde, could still have been there.
Rubbish.
You just don't know.
Sean in Islington says, Porky's talking garbage in regards to Hamilton. His car at Singapore lost power. The ERS system, which stands for Energy Recovery System, failed, thus resulting in a significant loss of horsepower.
Yeah, but
they
why
decided
did it
to
fail?
retire the car to save the engine.
Why did it fail?
The race at Monaco was a simple cock-up by the team. They brought him into the pits at the wrong time, resulting in him finishing second instead of first. Well, he finished second, right? So it's hardly a disaster, is it?
Where?
In Monaco.
Yes, well, it was a disaster because he at the
How's
time
it a disaster?
because he and Vettel were neck and neck in the race
but
to
in
be world champion.
Monaco famously is a place where you don't overtake, basically. So if you're pitted at the wrong time and you lose your seconds that way, you never get them back.
Believe it or not, there's non-believers out there similar to you. This one's from Maxwell Silverhammer.
Oh, yeah.
Has Porky stopped taking his medicine? That Lewis Hamilton story is the most ridiculous one I've heard.
Yeah.
He's a loon. Well, look, I'm sorry, Maxwell, which obviously isn't your name. I don't know what your name is. But if you can't expand your mind to consider every possibility. I mean, we don't know what's happening in the Milky Way. We don't know what's happening in the astral outer heavens.
I took a great picture of the moon tonight, by the way. I'll show it to you in a minute.
Why?
Because it's a lovely picture of the moon. I like to take pictures of the moon.
I've seen pictures of the moon before, thanks.
Yeah, I know, but this is...
I think I'm really interested in looking at a picture of the moon.
Well, the blood moon, which is the sort of thing that somebody who's superstitious like you would be scared of, don't go out on the 28th of September because the world might end.
Quite frankly, I'd rather look at a picture of an orange, because at least I can peel an orange and eat it. The moon is just a lump up in the sky.
A lump.
And I've seen it a million times.
And you're just lump down here. How about this one from Simon?
Yeah.
I've just broken down on the M4. Hashtag Mercury retrograde.
Well, you never know. Right, it says here, has old Porky taken mumbo-jumbo to a new level, this Mercury nonsense? Could it just be Hamilton's car failed? Well, yes, but why did... This comes from James. Why did it fail, James?
Well, cars fail all the time.
I do object...
Do you ever watch Formula One?
Because I've got a more... Yes, of course I do. Because I've got a more expansive mind and I can consider all sorts of possibilities of why things happen in the world, I don't expect a load of insults then from people whose brains are minuscule compared to mine. If you've got a pea brain and you can't understand what I'm trying to get at, then please don't send me an insult. Do you know what you should do instead? Go and pick up an encyclopedia and read a bit and see whether you can figure out what goes on in the part of the atmosphere that we can't even get to. That's
Tom says Mercury going back was only acting negatively against Lewis Hamilton. That's it. He's finally lost it. Hashtag nutter.
Right, well, I'm not going to comment on that. Now,
Special FX says Porky's talking out of his Uranus about Mercury, ruining Hamilton's car in Monaco. Yeah. His car was okay. It was a pit stop error by his team.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to ludicrous theories, right? Yeah. I'll give you one.
Yeah, you've just given us one. Give us another one.
I'm going to give you one.
Give us another one.
Pep Guardiola joining England as the national coach in this country for £10 million a year.
This is a story on the back page of one of the great national newspapers in this country, right?
Yeah, and it's rubbish. It's rubbish.
Well, it might not be rubbish. I mean,
it's
it might be
rubbish.
The story might be true, but it might well be that the England Chiefs have lost their brains.
I'm not saying that the author of this piece, on the back of one of our great
Charlie
national
Wyatt.
newspapers, you want to name him, it's up to you.
Well, his name's on the back of the paper.
Has got it wrong at all. What? What's the problem?
His name's on the back of the paper.
Yeah, but
I'm not naming him, am I?
Well,
his byline's on the story.
I think you're trying to expose the boy now because, you question marks over his story.
The paper's going to be bought by about 2 million people.
Anyway, what I'm saying is this. I'm saying that he's put the facts together and this is what he's come up with. Yeah. What I'm saying is if the FA are genuinely considering employing Pep Guardiola to run the England team on £10 million a year, they've gone mad.
Yeah.
Do you know England?
Well, it wouldn't be the first time, would it?
Well, England never play more than 10 games in 1 year, so they're paying him £1 million a game to manage for 90 minutes.
Well, Roy Hodgson's on about $5 million a year, isn't he?
Yeah, I think a bit less than that, about 3 or 4, I think. But I mean, it is utterly ludicrous, and Pep Guardiola won't come here to be the national manager.
Why not?
Because Pep Guardiola wants to achieve things at club level again.
But he's already done that, though.
Yeah, but he wants to achieve more. He's not going to come here as the national manager.
No, I mean, he's got every.
Mad.
I mean, he could just as likely go to be the England national manager as he could go to be the Manchester United or the Manchester City manager.
Yes, of course he could. And if he did it on a club level, he'd be working every week. But you know that national managers have so much downtime they don't know what to do with himself. Now, Pep Guardiola's already...
But he may have, in his own mind, decided that, I quite like the idea of the pace of national management. I quite like the idea...
$10 million a year? It's ridiculous.
Well, I mean, if somebody said to you, you can have $10 million a year and you can work basically part-time, why would you say no?
Hodgson, incidentally, collects $2.5 million a year, so it would be 4 times... only
2.5?
Yeah.
Is that all?
Yeah. But, I mean...
Bargain.
Honestly, I mean, look, I'm not saying Charlie White's story is wrong. I'm saying if there's even a conversation going on about employing Pep Guardiola on $10 million a year, then somebody has gone completely mad. Now, we should be talking about England's rugby game.
We
8
should,
o'clock Saturday night. Where are you going to watch it?
I'll probably watch it at home, I think.
Will you?
Yeah. Why?
In bladderation?
Well, no, I'll probably have just had dinner.
Yes.
My kids might be interested in watching it. My son, actually, my oldest son, who's just gone to secondary school, is going to be playing rugby this year.
Is he?
And funnily enough, I've had a bit of a sort of a slight... wobble about it because I'm quite concerned about him playing rugby. He plays football, and that's all fine and dandy.
Rugby
but he had to get himself a gum shield this week.
A gum shield,
Now, he's only 11.
They don't do scrums, do they?
Well, that's what I'm going to try and find out.
It's got to be banned.
Well, I'm going to try and find out because, I mean, what I don't want, because I don't want him sort of risking head injury. Now, there were people
it's
out
not
there...
head injury, it's breaking your neck in a scrum.
Well, there's all sorts of injuries you could get from rugby,
Yeah,
right?
there are, yeah.
And it's one of those, and it's one of those things I'd never thought that much about.
You know,
and I'd be interested to hear from people, actually, who've got kids who do play rugby, because I know... I mean, I was listening to Shane Williams talking on TalkSport the other day, and he was talking about, obviously, the professional game, and he said, look, we don't want to take out the physical aspect of it, but obviously we now know much more about concussion than we used to know.
All I know is, because, being the TalkSport's former rugby correspondent,
indeed,
if you get little kids and go into a scrum, if that scrum collapses, there are, sadly, very, very sadly, recorded cases of kids breaking their necks in those situations. Yeah. So I wouldn't let my kid play rugby at that level.
It's a sort of a risky thing.
Yeah.
But so I'll find out what sort of rugby they're going to be playing.
Yeah.
But the idea that he's got a gum shield suggests to me that they're going to be whacking each other pretty hard.
Yeah, it's horrible. Now, anyway...
So where are you going to be watching it then? Are you going to be down Wetherspoons or something?
I don't think Wetherspoons will show it because Wetherspoons have built their reputation, unfortunately, on not having televisions in their pubs. So I doubt it will be on there.
So you don't go. So if you're watching football, you can't watch it in Wetherspoons, either.
No, of course you can't. No.
Well, where's your local? Are you going to be in the Surrey area, or are you going to be in Portsmouth? Where are you going to be?
I'm going to be in the Surrey area because we are doing our show tonight, aren't we?
We are.
We're recording a DVD, by the way, folks. And
I've already mentioned that.
Oh, have you? I'll mention it again. Be out on Amazon soon. What I'm going to say is, I'm also. Oh, yes. Sorry, I should have alerted the audience to this.
What are you talking about now?
I'm doing a show on Sunday afternoon.
Oh,
we're doing another.
Oh,
yes.
Oh, well, when are you going to tell me about this?
Oh, sorry.
When are you going to tell me about this then?
Well, you don't need to know.
Why are you telling me now?
Well, me and our producer Dave.
Why are we not doing it as the two mics?
Will be the mainstay of the Sunday afternoon show.
Oh, so he's doing it as well?
He's doing it as well.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Oh, so maybe John. Is John involved? John's in it as well?
Oh, John's doing
it
as
great.
Well. Oh, that's great.
So all 4 people sitting here are doing a show on Sunday, apart from me.
Well,
is this some kind of secret society you're running?
No, it's not a secret society.
This is typical of you.
No.
This is the kind of thing you do all the time.
No.
You're divisive.
No.
You're selfish.
No.
You're the sort of person who doesn't care about...
Why are you saying these things? Why are you saying these things?
Because why are you doing a show on your own?
I'm not
we
doing
are
a show
the two
on my own.
mics.
what we have to do is we've had to put together a different
When you
set...
say we?
Yes.
What do you mean we?
Well, me and management. Management, right.
And these two quizzlings behind the glass.
Ooh, that's nice, isn't it? Quisling, That's a very naughty word. You know,
why are you telling me about this now?
Quisling was the boss of Norway, wasn't he? Who collaborated with the Germans.
Yeah, never mind
That's
him.
They call him Quisling.
Yeah, never mind him.
Well, all I'm saying is we had to get a different set of skills to put together for a Clash of the Titans on Sunday afternoon.
The numpties are us. Who else is on it?
Saggers.
Mark Saggers.
Mark Saggers.
All right.
My old very good pal, Tony Cascarino.
Right.
And somebody else, but we haven't decided.
What do you mean, so they've got a vacancy? Well, why can't I do it then?
Well, it's the skills required are beyond you.
Is that right?
Yes.
So you put a word in for me, no doubt.
No, I don't want you on the show.
You don't want me on the show?
No, I don't. I'm sorry. No. Are
you leading the show?
No, that'll be Sags.
All right.
Because I'm too valuable to sit there and just dictate. You know what I mean? And direct.
Well, I must say, I'm rather disappointed to hear that.
Well, I don't know why you're disappointed. I mean, the point is, it's supreme.
Maybe you'd like to do the show Head and Chickens with Cascarino and Saggers.
It's a suggestion, I suppose. I don't mind. But what I'm saying, you need supreme football insight.
First, you don't make me a cup of coffee.
No, why should I? Why should I make you a cup of coffee?
But now this.
Supreme footballing insight, Mike. And although, I'm not saying that you're short of football knowledge or anything like that, I would never make that accusation. It's the insight to interpret that knowledge.
Well, what they need, obviously, is somebody
missing.
who can't tell the difference between Carlo Ancelotti and Rafa Benitez.
What?
That's what they need on this show.
No, that was just a mental picture problem. That
Really?
was all. Yeah, that's all it was. Yeah.
All right.
Don't worry about that.
He's Mike Porky Parry. I'm Mike Graham.
And we need to talk about the rugby
situation. We may or may not be
situation.
the two Mikes. This is Talk Sport.
George Ford.
Very rousing, that, isn't it?
What is it?
It's the Welsh Rugby Union team song.
Well, not rousing to me because I'm English. Why did you want this played?
Well, because I'm actually going to be supporting Wales. It may come as a great
You're
surprise
a traitor
to you.
In that case.
No, I'm not a traitor. No, I consider myself...
I thought you spent the first 10 minutes of the show telling us you're a London boy.
I am London.
But if you're a London boy, you should be supporting England,
this is the bit you don't understand about rugby. The reason I have such a great affinity with Wales rugby is because when I worked down in Cardiff, rugby was very much the beating heart and soul of the newspaper that I edited.
Yes.
I became very friendly with lots of the guys that ran the Welsh Rugby Union.
Oh, like who?
Well, like the guys that run the Welsh Rugby Union. My columnist was Graham Henry, who was the coach of the Wales team at the time. Yeah. We actually broke the world exclusive ahead of every other rugby writer in the entire world.
Yes.
That Graham Henry was going to get the Lions job.
Yes.
Which was a very, very big exclusive
at
the time. Of course he did.
Yes.
He told me he was getting it the night before.
I knew, yeah.
No, yeah, but I mean, the point is we broke the story. We beat Peter Jackson, the Daily Mail, we beat everybody. And so I had a great sort of 2-3 years down there. I used to go to all the Wales home games. Saw the Rugby World Cup in 1999, and Wales and rugby for me is just something which is quite magical. So I'll always support Wales in any game, really, against any other home nation.
Did you meet Barry John?
I did meet Barry John. In fact, Barry John used to sit in a Chinese restaurant.
I was about to tell you that.
Opposite Millennium Stadium.
That's right, yeah.
He was paid by the restaurant because people would come in and chat to him, and then they'd have a drink and maybe have some food.
Yeah, that's all he had to do. That was his job.
Great guy.
He was employed by the Chinese restaurant to sit in the table at the window, the bay window.
Yeah.
And regular bottles of red wine were supplied to the table so that he, could have a bit of ambience with the people who came in. And you're absolutely right. He'd say, "Oh no, the food is smashing. Why don't you take a table and have some food with me?" Yeah, he would. Yeah, the whole afternoon. Yeah.
Amazing guy.
Yeah.
Met Jonathan Davis. Met all the kind of great rugby legends of Wales. And it's just there's something about Wales and rugby that for me is very romantic and great.
So we're on opposite sides then on Saturday night.
Yeah, so I'll be supporting Wales.
Well, I think that's disgusting. I think that's absolutely disgusting.
Why is it?
Because you've been brought up on English taxpayers' money, to try and be the person
British
you are
taxpayers'
now.
money, I think you'll find. British taxpayers' money.
London and that part of the South East provide about 1/3 of total revenues to...
Yeah, well, I'm one of the people that supplies it. Don't worry about that.
Exactly. And you choose. Now, the row here, right...
You're more likely to be a Welsh supporter than me, actually, given your antecedents. You told me before that your name, Parry, is of Welsh extraction.
It may be, but I am 100% Anglo-Saxon. I keep telling you that. Now, this is
Nobody's 100% Anglo-Saxon. This is a row between... And they came from Germany anyway.
This is a row between two number 10s. One is called Owen Farrell and the other is George Ford.
Yeah.
and George Ford had the shirt, but now Owen Farrell's got it, right?
Yeah.
Is that right?
That's right.
Right, now listen, I'm a big mate of Stephen Howard, who's a columnist who writes in The Sun, okay? And just to explain brilliantly what this is all about, you know, whoa, why is it such a row?
Yeah.
And by the way, we're told Stuart Lancaster's neck is on the block if this goes wrong.
He says, judge me on this match.
That's right, judge me on this match, because he's dropped George Ford and put Owen Farrell in, right?
Yeah.
This is what Stephen Howard says, and it's brilliant the way he describes it, okay?
Yeah.
This is great journalism. You want to listen to this?
Go on.
Heard the one about the bloke who ditched his long-term girlfriend for a younger, sportier model. He then got married, and yet within a month dumped the new one and went back to the original. Who just happened to be the daughter of one of his mates, but he had a cunning backup plan. If that all went pear-shaped, it is hoped he will return to the one he jilted,
What's he talking
though
about?
she now hated him. Remind you of anything? What he's saying is, what Stephen's saying is, this is a massive, massive example of indecision, changing your mind, having one plan, Plan A, reverse to Plan B, but then back to Plan A, and he's saying it could all go terribly wrong.
Yeah, but one of the things that you and Stephen Howard don't appreciate, because you're not really rugby specialists, right, is that actually what Lancaster is doing is not showing his hand, because everybody knows that in the starting kind of pool games, what the England team and the French team and the New Zealand team and the Australian team and the South African team don't want to do is to show what their best team is, because basically they want to save that for the later stages of the competition.
Rubbish. That's
it's not rubbish.
It's utter
that
rubbish.
That is complete and utter sense.
Suppose in England mess it up against Wales. That was a brilliant plan, wasn't it? Eh?
Well,
brilliant.
It's always possible, because, as you know, I'm not a big fan of Stuart Lancaster, and neither are you. And I'm not convinced that he's the guy that's going to take England to any kind of glory.
He just doesn't.
But the Welsh team is suffering from so many injuries that they're going to have to be incredibly fired up, and they will be fired up for this.
Yeah, the thing is, because there's so many players in a Welsh team, right?
Well, they've got the same number as everybody else.
Yeah, no, in any rugby
15.
team. Yeah, in any rugby team, there's so many players, and a few injuries don't matter, really.
That's not true.
You have vast squads of 40 players.
Not true. 35, actually.
That's what I said, 35 players.
Yeah.
And that's great. But what I don't get is that Stuart Lancaster, to me, does not... You know, when I see him talking, he looks like a headmaster. No, he doesn't even look like a headmaster. He looks like a
PE
sports
teacher,
master.
you
PE
said.
teacher, yeah. And he comes
over...
over...
had a big row with Russell Hargreaves about that.
And he's always, his head's bobbing around. He never looks straight at the camera and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think he's got confidence in himself.
Well, one of the big things to watch out for tomorrow is the match-up between Sam Burgess and Scott Williams, right? Scott Williams is the guy who's going to be up against Sam Burgess. You know the Sam Burgess
Who's Scott
story?
Williams play for?
He plays for Wales.
Right, okay,
I can see you've done a lot of research on this.
I have done a lot of research, and I don't care for the Welsh players. I'm English.
All right, well, tell me a bit about Sam Burgess, then.
Sam?
Yeah.
Yeah? What do you want to know?
Well, tell me about him. What's so special about him?
What do you need to know?
Well, tell me about why he's so special and why it's such a big gamble.
I'll tell you why. Farrell and Sam Burgess, right? They were so good against Fiji.
Yeah, they were.
They were.
They were.
Sorry, what are you laughing
Sam
at?
Burgess is a rugby league player, basically, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And he's been brought
in
with very little rugby union experience, but he's an incredibly great player.
Yes,
because he plays over in Australia, and Australians know all about him.
Absolutely.
However,
quite right.
I think he's dropped a bit of a blunder. He made a bit of a blunder here, right?
Yeah.
Because he was asked yesterday who's going to be marking him, and his Welsh rival is this guy called Scott Williams, who's a renowned player, Lions player, fantastic player, right?
Scott,
who could absolutely ruin this guy Burgess, right?
Well,
he might not.
He could.
But when asked about him, he just said, "Who's that?"
Who's that?
Right? So that's kind of sticking it to him, putting it out there. And if the first time that Scott Williams tackles Sam Burgess and he really crunches him, that's going to be something to look out for.
Now, listen, this week I saw an international rugby coach,
right?
No, rugby coach,
talking
in English, and saying that inevitably, because of the size of rugby players these days, like Rob Shaw, the England captain, 6'6", and all this kind of stuff, they're going to have bigger rugby pitches because of the number of men on the pitch.
Really?
Now, this is just an expansion of my Raise the Bar campaign. I've been saying this for so long now that footballers are now getting so big and over so big, you've got to raise the bar and widen the post, 3 inches on either side.
It's a campaign.
Raise the bar 6 inches.
Yeah.
This Welsh... no, it wasn't Welsh. I don't know
who was it?
I don't know. This is the problem. I saw him talking on television. I thought this man talks incredible sense.
Did he have an accent?
It
wasn't David Campese, was it?
No, it wasn't David Campese, no. I'd have recognised him now, because I had a look at his picture the other day. No, what I was...
He was on the breakfast show the other day.
He was, actually, yeah, that's right. What I was going to say was... is that it's even more relevant to rugby, where there's 15 men on a pitch, than it is to football.
Well, funnily enough, we're watching...
And this coach, I'm not joking, Mike, this is no jokes, I don't know who the coach was, and I tried to find out after, and I couldn't identify him.
Yeah.
He said rugby pitch is now too small for 15 rugby players who are each 6 foot 6 inches tall. And he's right. A rugby pitch looks far too crowded.
No, it doesn't.
And you don't get flowing rugby anymore. You don't get...
Yes, you do.
You don't get that line that goes forward and they pass in left to right
Did you not watch the Japan-South Africa
left.
game? Did you not watch the All Blacks against Argentina?
Of course I did.
Did you not watch France against Romania?
Of course I did, but it's all stop-start.
Well, I mean, you look at this game we're watching here, right, which is the New York Giants against the Washington Redskins, 18-6.
Well, you're watching. I'm not watching
by the way.
Yeah.
These guys are getting bigger as well.
Yes.
And the NFL pitch is actually quite short. It's only 100 yards long.
I know, it is very short.
Now, they have not had to expand their pitch in order to, make it...
Yeah, but it's a different game.
Well, no, it's not.
No, it is. Come on, in American football, you throw the ball long ways down the pitch, mostly.
Yeah.
Whereas in rugby, the ball goes mostly across the pitch.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, because you can't throw it forward.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
You can kick it forward.
Well, of course you can kick it forward,
I mean,
but
if
you don't very often see it kick
but
forward.
if you go to a rugby match, there are vast swathes of the pitch not being used.
No, I don't agree.
I don't think you need to make it any bigger.
I don't
What about basketball? I mean, basketball, for example, has got the same size court as it's always had. And
crazy game.
Well, it's not a crazy game, but basketball players have never been bigger than they are now.
No, well, exactly, but they've always been
So nobody's
big.
done it. Anyway, let me read you some tweets, right? Because people are quite disappointed with me.
Okay.
Kloppite says this, that's Porky off the Christmas card list, surely, after that snub.
What snub?
The one about Sunday. Here's one from Rob, who says, Mike Parry and crew stabbed
on
Mike...
Sunday? What are you talking about?
You're doing this show without telling me.
I see.
Mike Parry and crew stabbed Mike Graham in the back. Roy says, Porky's lower than a snake's belly, undermining old MG and screwing him out of a gig. Porky, no mate's pulling a fast one. And then William says, could this be Porky's revenge for not being, for you not being on Sunday in that he wasn't at Piers Morgan's birthday party?
Yeah, it could be. But no, I'm not small-minded like that. It's just, it's a different set of skills, that's all. And I'm needed to articulate within that programme format. It's
and Mo says, does Porky have his own astrology show on Sunday?
Well, of course not, but I do take note of these things because they're very important. Now, young Liz is getting a bit feisty again.
Is she?
She says something about, I don't think it's Towns, is it? I won't do very well. She's telling me I won't do very well in the quiz. And she says, I have been spurned. I shall not listen anymore. I mean, far from spurning...
How have you upset her this time?
I don't know. Far from spurning young Liz. Didn't we read a couple of her tweets out in the last hour?
Yeah, well, you see, the thing about women is you've got to treat them with great care.
Well, I do.
And
anyway,
great respect.
There we go. Anyway, getting back to the fact that Maxwell and his silver hammer are still on the old tweet trail, okay? He says, my real name is Maxwell. Oh, okay. Silver Hammers from the Beatles song. Do you know, I'd worked that one out for myself, Maxwell. Thank you very much for getting in touch.
Yeah. Okay. Right, now, it's coming up to that time of night. The Porky quiz is looming very large.
That's
now, I don't want you complaining and moaning and groaning about the way that the scoring is going to be done, because the scoring has been worked out specifically by the quizmasters as to what scores will be given, whether you get half a point for something if you get it nearly right, or whether you get a whole point for something which you have to get exactly right, okay?
Right, yeah. But you see, the devil is in the detail. Now, if you start punishing me in terms of marks because I omitted one B road of 200 yards length...
there will be no B roads involved.
Exactly, that's good.
Only
that's
A roads and motorways, okay?
That's good.
So I can assure you that will not be the case.
Excellent.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two
sounding good.
The Porky quiz is coming up next.
Woo!
Kick off with 100% football on Talk Sport, official partner of the Barclays Premier League.
Oh my word, he's done it again!
Tomorrow afternoon from 5, exclusive national radio commentary of Newcastle versus Chelsea.
It's a decent ball in towards the near post and it's flicked in by Jose Perez.
With full updates of every single Premier League game throughout the season. Official partner of the Barclays Premier League. Talk Sport.
What's the matter with you? Can't you read a map?
Motorway food is the worst in the world. You've never eaten food like I've eaten on the motorway. Motorway food is the worst in the world. The coffee tastes weak and the cakes taste stale. Gasoline fumes are the worst to inhale. Stomach rolls over and your face turns pale.
Recognise that song?
Oh, that motorway living.
Is that I've Been Everywhere,
Motorway? No, it's the Kinks, actually.
Oh, is
I
it?
don't know if I know the song.
Oh,
but,
right, okay. Yeah, no, I don't recognise it.
Pulled out
then.
of the archives by your two mates there behind the glass.
Oh, the two I'm working with on Sunday.
Yeah, those two.
That's
the
right.
two you're talking about.
Good guys
exactly.
they are.
Yeah.
Part of the team, you know. got the relevant skills for the show that's necessary. You'll have to keep practising yours, I'm afraid.
I won't be listening. I'll be washing my hair, I think.
Well, we don't want you to listen. We don't want listeners like you.
Oh, really?
You can push off.
Management will be interested to hear that point of view. Anyway, let's hear from those who would like to hear the Porky quiz, because this has been very specially and differently put together this week, because as a general rule, the independent quizmasters have to set the questions themselves. These have come in from listeners to the show who we asked to put you to the test, basically. And we got 10 questions here.
And they're all submitted by listeners, are they?
They're all submitted by listeners.
And you haven't seen them?
I've seen them now. I'm looking at them.
And the first question is from Stephen. From Stephen, how does old MG know there are no B roads in the questions?
Because
he said he does not know the questions.
No, I saw the questions at the beginning of this hour. That's when I get them, right? Yeah. Now, what's going to be the format for most of the questions, right, is that I'll be asking you to tell us how to get from one point to another point in Britain, right? So what you've got to do is list the roads, okay?
Yes.
And I'll mark them down. Now, if you get a predominance of them correct in most cases, you'll probably get the whole point.
Excellent.
But if you miss any out, then you won't get a whole point. Is that clear?
Yes, I understand, yeah.
Now, are you ready for question number 1?
I certainly am.
Question number 1. What is special about the M96?
What do you mean, what is special about the M96?
Well, it's a simple question. What is special about the M96?
The M96?
The M96.
Well, apart from the fact that it's the shortest motorway in Britain, there is nothing else special about the M96.
You think it's the shortest motorway in Britain?
It's the shortest motorway in Britain.
Is that your answer?
I'm thinking aloud, actually.
Are you?
Yes.
Why are you doing that thing with your eyes again?
What do you mean?
You're staring at me with that sort of inscrutable look.
You see,
just seeking answers. Don't seek answers from my eyes.
But the whole point of this quiz was me telling you the roads to get from A to B. You've asked me what's...
This is the only question that doesn't involve 2 points, okay?
But it happens to be the first, just to put me completely off my stride.
It came in from a listener, and it's been included, you know.
It's a ridiculous question.
What's special about the M96?
It's the shortest motorway in Britain.
Incorrect.
Oh, yeah?
Do
really?
pay attention, you great steaming pillock!
I forgot to say, by the way, if you get something wrong, that's what you'll hear.
Yeah, I've just heard it, thank you. Yeah,
Shall we find out what he hears if he gets something right?
Yes.
Drive, my Hawkman, drive!
Oh, there we are.
That's Brian Blessed's voice.
It is Brian Blessed, yeah.
OK, so what is special about the M96?
The M96 is actually a practice motorway.
Have
you ever heard of that?
What do you mean?
It's part of the Fire Service College in Moreton-on-the-Marsh in Gloucestershire, right? And it's used by the fire service to practice on, rescuing people.
Well, I bet you it's the shortest in Britain, then.
It's not, actually.
It is the shortest in Britain.
No, it's not.
It is. How long is it?
It's quite long.
How long?
It's quite long.
How long?
You didn't get it right.
How
you got 0
long?
out of 1.
It's the shortest in Britain. I got it right.
Question number 2.
Stupid question.
You've
been hung by your own petard on question number 1.
You mean hoisted?
Hoisted by your own petard, because it's obviously the shortest motorway in Britain.
No, it isn't.
It's on a practice track at a fire college.
No, it's not.
How big do you think a fire college is?
Quite a big fire college.
It's not, it's not the size of the M6.
There's going to be much more of this. You're going to be moaning about the first question for the rest of the night.
Just get on with it.
Question number 10. Yeah. How'd you get from
Question
Kingston...
number 10?
2, sorry.
Do we go from 1 to 10?
No, 2, sorry.
He's lost his bottle. You've lost your bottle.
How do you get
You're so upset about being snubbed on Sunday.
No, I am upset about it.
Yeah.
Question number 2. How do you get from Kingston upon Thames to Kingston upon Hull?
Right, Kingston on Thames, Kingston on Hull. Right, OK, I've got that. Right, I know what you do. You go onto the A3.
Correct.
And on the A3, you would go down to the M25.
Correct.
You would then go right round the M25. Where'd you say? Kingston on Hull?
Mm-hmm. Kingston upon Hull.
Kingston on Hull to the M1. You would then get, or the A1. You could go on the A1 or the M1. It wouldn't really matter. But we'll say the M1, and you go up the M1 as far as the M62, and you turn right and you go to Hull.
Is that your final answer?
Or you could go up the A1 and turn right and go to Hull. Well, it doesn't matter.
You're going to have to do more than the M62, because the M62 doesn't go to Hull.
The M62, if you turn right, does go to Hull.
You need another road to get the full point.
At the end of the M62, you are in Hull. Almost.
No, you need another road. Otherwise,
it's not a very long road.
It doesn't matter. It's an A road that you need to have.
It'll be the A62 in that case.
Incorrect.
No, it's not.
It's the A63.
Don't pay
the
attention.
A63.
It's the A63. So you can't get a point for that. You have to do the whole thing.
Hang on, don't be ridiculous.
Yes,
I got you within 3 miles of Hull.
Doesn't matter. You didn't get to Hull.
Completely right.
No, the A63 is a big road. Question number 3. Newcastle under Lyme to Newcastle upon Tyne.
Newcastle under Lyme to Newcastle upon Tyne. Right, I know what you do.
OK.
You get onto the M6... and you go north.
Incorrect.
No, hang on, excuse me, I'm thinking aloud.
No, you're thinking aloud.
I'm thinking aloud. Thinking aloud.
Okay.
Newcastle.
Well, I can tell you, and I shouldn't be helping you here, the M6 does not figure.
Right, Newcastle under Lyme is near Stoke. And Stoke. Right, now Stoke. No, actually, that is near the M6. Right, hang on, I'm thinking again. I know what you do. You go from Newcastle under Lyme straight to the M62, right? Straight to the M62. Then you turn right, and you go to the A1, right?
Why are you asking me?
Because I'm telling you.
You tell me.
I'm thinking aloud, and then you turn left up the A1, and you go straight up to the... You go under the Tyne Tunnel by going off the A1 to the A9.
The A1 is good enough to get you to Newcastle.
Yes,
but it's the stuff before that's not going to get you the point.
Hang on.
You haven't got me from Newcastle under Lyme.
Hang on, Newcastle under Lyme to the A1.
You're not going to get it.
I will. I think it's along the A34.
No, you're just making that up now.
No.
It's the A50 to the A38 to the M1 to the M18 to the A1. So you got that one wrong as well.
Don't pay attention!
Question number 4.
It's a ridiculous
Question
route.
number 4. What is the furthest you could theoretically drive using only motorways from one point to another?
What, in Great Britain?
Yes.
That would be... well, I mean, there's a couple of options here.
There's only one option.
One could be the M2 down as far as Folkestone and Dover, M2 or M20.
Well, you can change motorways as well.
M2 or M20. And then you can go as far north as...
No, but this is a continuous journey, changing motorways, but without going off a motorway, is my point.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, you can go on motorways.
Well, London to Dover's not very far, is it?
No, hang on. You can go from Dover to the M25, round the M25, you go north up the M1, right? You go all the way up the M1 to beyond Leeds, and then... or you could be on the M6 on the other side of the country and go on the M8 between Glasgow and Edinburgh. I'd say that's the answer.
No, incorrect.
What do you mean?
The answer is Exeter to Stirling. You go from Exeter on the M5, through the M6, through the M74, M73, M60, M9, M80, M9 rather. So that's wrong as well.
That's ridiculous.
Question number 5.
These are stupid
tell
questions.
Us how you get from... These have been submitted by the listeners.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're too ridiculous.
How do you get from York to Workington?
York to Workington?
Yes.
York is...
I'll have to hurry you on this as
York is on the M1, and Workington is in Yorkshire. Hang on. So, I don't know what you're laughing at. It'll be like something like the A42.
No, incorrect.
No?
York is actually on the A1M, and you have to go on the A1 and the A6108 and then the A66.
Well, that's ridiculous. Nobody would know that.
Well, you said you knew all the roads in the country.
Yeah, I meant...
Workington is not in Yorkshire either.
The agreement...
Workington's not in Yorkshire.
The agreement was between football grounds. That was that was what the quiz was all about. This is a stupid quiz.
Question number 6. Bicester to Torcross.
Bicester?
Yeah.
Bicester? In Oxon.
You know where Bicester is, don't you?
Bicester?
Yeah.
To where?
To Torcross.
I don't know where Torcross is.
Well, you should do.
I've never heard of Torcross.
Well, you should know where it is. It's near where you come from.
It's not near Chester.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
It's not. I've never heard of it.
Okay.
But if it's
so
near
you
Chester...
don't know the answer, then.
Hang on. Bicester and Oxon, shut up. You go to the M40. You go to the M40.
You go to the M40.
You go to the M40. You go around the M40, right up to, in my opinion, the A41. You go up the A41, and at the end of the A41, you're there.
Incorrect.
What's your problem?
It starts on the A40. Bicester's on the A43. You do go on the M40, but you have to go M42, M6 Toll, M62, and then A5080.
That's rubbish.
It's not.
That is rubbish.
Okay, here's one which was sent in by another one of our listeners. 7, question number 7. Pratt's Bottom in Kent to Dull in Perthshire.
What?
There's a place called Pratt's Bottom in Kent.
Yes.
To Dull in Perthshire.
You go on the M20 to the M220.
The M20.
No,
the M22.
No, the M20. The M20. The M20. Then you've got the M25.
M25, yes. M20's wrong, but I'll leave you off that one.
M2.
M25 is fine.
M25.
Go with that. Then what?
Where are we going again?
To Perthshire in Scotland.
Well, you go straight up the A1. Or you could go up the M1.
The M1, I'll take.
M1.
Yeah.
And then you get up to those Scottish motorways again, the ones we talked about in the last answer.
Well, why don't you tell me what they are?
One of them's the M8, the other one's the 27, isn't it?
No,
yeah.
Incorrect. No, it's the M74 and the M73.
I said 74.
All right, question number 8. You should get this one. Yeah. Dover to Norwich.
Dover. Right, Dover is M20, that's for sure.
Correct.
Up to M25.
Correct.
Round M25.
Yeah.
And then it's the Norwich to Norwich.
Yeah.
No, motorways to Norwich. So it's the one to Cambridge, which is the M.
It's not a motorway, you said.
No. It is as far as Cambridge. So it's the M. What's that road? It goes, north, south. It goes
hopeless.
Goes northeast off the M25. It's called the M11. You got the M11, right?
I'll give you that. It's the A11 actually.
Yeah. There's an M11 to Cambridge as well. And then once you're up in Cambridge, then you take the final route, which goes through Huntington, the A64.
Incorrect.
No, it's not.
It's the A14.
A14.
All right, we've got to really hurry this. We've got 2 more. Question number 9. This one, surely you're going to get. Brighton to Reading.
Yeah, Brighton is on the south coast, so you go up the M23.
Correct.
To where? To Reading.
Yeah.
Okay, M23, M25.
Correct.
And then the M4.
Well, you could go that way.
Yes, of course you could. Or the M40. Either or.
Well, not really. Actually, the correct way would be the A320, and then the A322, and then the A329, brackets M, and then the A2390.
No, rubbish, but you still have to go on the
you have to get to the A4, basically.
Yeah.
I'll give you half a point for that. And then the final one.
Yes.
Since we talked about this the other day, Cardiff to Barrow-in-Furness.
Okay, Cardiff.
The town where you can get in but you can't get out.
Yeah, that's right. So Cardiff, M5.
What?
Hang on. Cardiff is the M4.
Correct.
To the M5.
Correct.
Up the M5 to M6.
Correct.
North on M6.
Yeah.
To Spur Road left down into Barrow-in-Furness.
Yeah, but what's the name of the road?
62.
Incorrect.
No.
I'll give you another half a point.
Attention!
That's got 2 half a points. Correct. So you got 1 out of 10 altogether. What a shambles.
They were blinking stupid questions, though. They really were.
Well, let me thank especially Roy Dickinson, Kitbag Kelly, Trucker Timmy, Becky in New Zealand, and the Professor in Mexico for those questions. It was a tremendous quiz.
What, you took a question from some guy in Mexico about roads in England? He just dreamed it up.
What do you mean? He's English.
You see, this is what I object to. They didn't know the answers. All these people did was invent 2 name places, and they didn't know the roads between them.
They supplied that as well.
That was a complete shambles.
1 out of 10, absolute shambles. Worst performance ever by the Porkmeister. This is Talk Sport.
Shambolic.
You great steaming pillar!
Squeezing a Beatles song before the end of the week, don't we? We haven't had too many of those.
Yeah.
Now, we're going to talk about the Beatles in a little while. We're going to talk about strawberries as well. But don't forget, we do have to do the Selco Predictor before.
Let's get on with it.
Do you want to do that now?
Let's do it now.
Okay, right. So, I've already filled mine in, but I shall read you out what I've got. First game up, Tottenham against Manchester City. The early kick-off tomorrow, Saturday.
Yeah, Tottenham 1, City 3.
That's exactly what I've got.
Oh, okay.
You haven't been looking at you haven't been thinking of mine, have you?
No.
All right, next one is Leicester against Arsenal.
Leicester, Arsenal. Do you know what? I think Leicester's bubble's about to burst. Leicester 1, Arsenal 2.
I've got Leicester 2, Arsenal 2. Okay. Because the thing about Leicester is whenever they're losing, they seem to equalise and get back to level play. Liverpool, Aston Villa, the big one we were talking about earlier in the show.
I can't see Liverpool losing that at home, so that's Liverpool 2, Villa 1.
Really?
Yes.
I can't see them winning it. I've got 1-1 for that.
Okay.
Manchester United against Sunderland.
Yeah.
Can't see Sunderland winning that.
Do you know, that United really should take opportunity there and make that a 4-0. 4-0.
I've got 2-0 to Man United.
Okay.
Southampton, Swansea.
Yeah, Southampton, Swansea. Swansea on a bit of a rocker. Southampton coming back a bit. 2-1 to Southampton.
I've got 2-2 for that one. Okay. Can't work Swansea out at the moment. I'm not quite sure what they're up to. Stoke against Bournemouth.
Yeah. Stoke are really struggling.
They really are.
Bournemouth
Stoke are the worst team, actually, compared to what they were supposed to be. Yeah. All season.
Bournemouth are filling themselves full of confidence. Stoke 1, Bournemouth 2.
I've got 1-2 as well.
Right,
interesting. West Ham United against Norwich.
Yeah. Well,
the place that has no motorways.
Yeah, West Ham.
Set off early if you're going. Oh no, it's at West Ham.
Exactly. But still, if you're travelling from Norwich,
set off early. Yeah, good thinking.
Right, West Ham are now full of confidence, and they'll definitely beat Norwich 3-1.
I've got 2-0, so we agree on that. Newcastle against Chelsea. Steve McLaren.
Yeah.
Looking shaky.
Yeah. Newcastle 1, Chelsea 4.
I've got Newcastle 0, Chelsea 1. I don't see Chelsea scoring a lot of goals there. Watford against Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
On Sunday.
Yeah.
It's the only game on Sunday.
It's the only game.
I forgot to say that Newcastle-Chelsea's live on TalkSport, by the way.
That's right, it is, yeah. That would be Watford 2, Palace 1.
Really? I've got it the other way round. I've got Watford 1, Palace 2. Well, Palace having a bit of a wobble at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, they are, yeah.
West Brom Everton, of course, which is the Monday night game. We'll be talking about that next Monday night when you're in.
Yeah. It'll be West Brom 0, because Everton's defence is so strong. Everton 2.
I've actually got West Brom 1, Everton 2. I'm actually saying Everton are going to win that.
Right.
So you should be pleased about that.
Okay, good.
And if you haven't already signed up for our Selco Predictor game, get involved. It's not too late. There's loads of prizes up for grabs every single week. This week, if you can beat Dietmar Hammond's scores, there's an LG smartwatch to be won. Go to talksport.com/predictor, or there's a new app. Search Selco Predictor in the App Store. And also, I've tweeted out a little bit earlier, if you want to play on the Two Mikes Predictor League, where Mr. Parry is currently 401st and I'm 91st. You can go to our Twitter page and find out what it is.
Okay.
Now, strawberries.
Yeah.
You've got something to tell me about strawberries.
Well, no, I didn't. I talked to you earlier. You were saying, how are you feeling? I'm saying I'm feeling tip-top condition because I've gone onto a bit of a strawberry diet.
Is it the right time of year for strawberries?
Well, it is.
It's a bit late in the season.
No. Now, shall I tell you what's put me onto this?
Go on.
I shop locally at a branch of Tesco's. And every day, at about midday, they put yesterday's strawberries into the bargain basement thing.
Oh, what, the place where they say this is the sell-by date's about to be passed?
So I get a big punnet of strawberries, which normally costs £4, for £2. So I buy 2 a day.
Right.
And then I have...
It's not good for you to eat that many strawberries,
It is, because, honestly, you would think not, but strawberries are mostly water.
Yeah.
They are mostly water.
And what do you eat them with?
I eat the first lot the following morning with my cornflakes.
Right, okay. Do you slice them?
I slice them up.
Take the green stalk out?
Yes, I do, yeah. Slice them up. And then the second lot in the evening with a yoghurt.
Uh-huh.
Okay?
Oh, very nice. What sort of yoghurt?
Peach.
Peach?
Yes.
What, one of those little ones?
Yes, that's right.
I'm a big fan of Greek yoghurt, actually.
Yeah, I like peach yoghurt, right?
I said Greek yoghurt.
And I've lost about £5 this week on the strawberry diet.
Have you?
Seriously.
Don't look like it.
And they're very new. Sorry?
Don't look like it.
Well, how would you know?
Well, you don't look as if you lost any weight at all.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, your fat face looks, very similar, whether you're drinking 12 pints
of
of lager and 2 kebabs or not.
I'm saying. You don't look any different, is all I'm saying.
Well, I don't really rate you as a great sort of connoisseur of people's, people's
just because you got 1 out of 10
on
the motorway quiz.
Well, that was a ridiculous quiz. The audience even now are tweeting in to say what a load of nonsense that was.
Well, Roy says Workington is in Yorkshire, classic. He also says, this is embarrassing. How the hell does he ever get anywhere? No wonder he's been everywhere, because he gets lost.
Oh, yeah. I've been everywhere, man. Don't you worry about that. But I haven't been to places like, Copper Bottom?
Pratt's Bottom.
Pratt's Bottom, ridiculous.
Badger's Bottom's down that way as well.
Ridiculous. Anyway, listen, talking about strawberries, right, and we had that song, Strawberry Fields, to introduce us.
Yes.
That takes me to a survey I found this week, the 50 Greatest Britons, right?
Yeah. Are you on it?
No, I'm not. I haven't made it yet.
How did they miss that?
But I'm not dead yet. Right, what?
So they ought to have to be dead to be on it, then?
Well, it's better to be dead. Well, Richard Branson's on it. He's not dead yet. Now, a survey has named the 50 most inspiring Britons, from Spitfire ace Douglas Bader to acting royalty Dame Judi Dench.
Yeah.
Where's this come from, by the way? This is the survey by clothing firm Rohan, is it?
Rohan?
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
I don't know who they are, but anyway, it's based on
Rohan
the
Ricketts
fame.
I've heard of.
Now, I can't quite get my head around this, and I'll tell you why. They say Florence Nightingale is number 1.
Yeah.
Winston Churchill number 2.
That's a bit controversial.
The Queen number 3.
Yeah.
Stephen Hawking number 4.
Right.
Diana, Princess of Wales number 5.
Right. I'm surprised they got Florence Nightingale ahead of Churchill.
Well, that's exactly. But what really bugs me is John Lennon, 39.
Okay. Well, he's in there.
Yeah. But hang on.
In there.
Do you know they think he's better than him?
Right. Well, 38 people, obviously.
Yeah, but the likes of some right deadbeats, right?
Deadbeats?
Yeah, Emmeline Pankhurst.
Well, you hardly describe her as a deadbeat.
Well, what's she famous for?
Emmeline Pankhurst.
The suffragette movement.
The suffragette movement.
Yeah.
Votes for women.
Yeah.
Quite important.
Yeah.
Probably more important than John Lennon, historically speaking.
Yeah, hang on. I'm going to try
What
to
other
find...
deadbeats have you got for us?
Well, let me see.
They've got Sir Steve Redgrave in there,
have they? No, they haven't got, no. Captain Scott, I mean, he was a failure, wasn't he? hasn't he?
Well, not really.
No, his mission failed.
Yeah, but I mean, he was one of the great explorers.
Yes.
He had many other missions before his final mission actually didn't work.
Yes,
right?
yes.
I think he should be in there ahead of John Lennon. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, John Logie Baird.
Yeah, invented television.
Yeah,
quite important.
He did. Yeah, I suppose he did.
There'd be no Porky
But
Vision
I
without
still think
him.
John Lennon brought something unique to the world. Which
Well, that's why he's in there, though.
Yeah, I mean...
Is he the only Beatle that's in there?
He's the only Beatle.
I bet Ringo's not in there.
No, Ringo's not in there. Paul McCartney should be in there.
Any other
somewhere.
musicians in there?
Yes, Freddie Mercury is number 48.
OK, well, that's quite good.
Which I think that's quite good.
Yeah.
So Steve Redgrave, by the way, is 47.
There you go.
Yeah, so there you go. But, I mean, for instance, Mo Farah...
Who's the rest of the top 10, then? Who's
all right, I'll tell you.
Go on.
So number 6, Sir David Attenborough.
That's fair enough.
Who is the naturist, isn't he?
Yeah.
Number 7, Sir Isaac Newton.
Yeah.
Number 8, Mo Farah.
Mo Farah?
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, Mo's done a great job and all that kind of stuff, but, I mean, he's hardly better than John Lennon, is he? His contribution to the world.
Mo Farah? No, I wouldn't have Mo Farah in the top 10 at all.
No. 9, Charles Darwin.
Yeah.
Theory of
I mean, how can you have
evolution.
Mo Farah ahead of Charles Darwin if they got mad?
Yeah, and
That's ridiculous.
But also, number 10, this is the weirdest one,
Yeah.
Sir Richard Branson.
Yeah, that's not right, is it?
Of course he's not. Sir Richard Branson's a self-made billionaire, fair enough, but has he contributed to the well-being of the world in the way that Florence Nightingale did, and Sir Isaac Newton, and others in it are Captain James Cook, who discovered Australia, Horatio Nelson, who, of course, is our greatest ever British naval commander. He's only 26.
Yeah.
How can you have Richard Branson?
And why have they called David Attenborough a nudist, anyway?
A naturist.
Yeah, naturalist.
Naturalist,
Yeah.
sorry, yeah. I mean, how can you honestly have Sir Richard Branson at number 10?
Well, Mo Farah's the most ridiculous one for me.
Yeah, like a runner
But the idea that he's ahead of
Horatio Nelson, who literally saved the British Empire.
Well, how can he be ahead of Darwin?
Yeah,
That's
exactly. Yeah, I mean, it really gets me, that, I tell you, you know. And then they've got, at number 30, Prince Harry. Well, Prince Harry's a nice young chap, but he hasn't exactly put his mark on the world yet, has he?
Great Britain. I mean, he's done some good things. He does a lot of great charity work with the servicemen and the veterans who have been injured in wars and stuff like that. And he's a great ambassador for the country, I would
Dame
say.
Vera Lynn, 42.
Yeah, well, she's in there.
Yeah. And Sir Walter Raleigh behind her at 43. I don't agree with that, because Sir Walter Raleigh truly is alongside
Was this voted
Horatio
by
Nelson.
the public or something?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a survey, as I say, by this clothing firm for the public. But, Dame Judi Dench, great, no problem at all. But she played M in James Bond films. How can she be ahead of John Lennon?
No.
It's ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous.
I can't believe it. Yeah. Absolutely crazy.
Number 13 I quite like. Isambard Kingdom Brunel. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Right, OK.
Well, it's a fascinating study. I'm amazed that you're not in there, to be honest.
Yes.
But there's plenty of time for that.
Quite right.
We shall be, of course, back on Monday night following the Everton-West Brom game.
Yes.
If you are coming to the Hen and Chickens tonight, it starts at 7 o'clock. It is sold out, though.
Please remember, it is 7 o'clock start.
Don't turn up if you haven't got a ticket, because you won't get in, I'm afraid.
That's
right. I'm going to give you a final update. I think it's 25-6 in the fourth quarter to the New York Giants against the Washington Redskins. I've just done that to annoy Porky. Porky will be back, of course, with his two mates behind the glass on Sunday
I certainly will.
for something rather amusingly called Clash of the Titans.
Yes.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mikes.
Look at the light!
Don't forget to follow the Two Mikes at the Two Mikes on Twitter and on YouTube. Just look for Two Mikes TV.
I'm sorry, mate. Dead cat bounce.
What?
Dead cat bounce.
What's a dead cat bounce?
A dead cat bounce, you know what that is?
No.
Well, if you've got a dead cat and you drop it, it doesn't bounce. It's called the dead cat bounce.
I would argue the case that it would bounce.
No, it wouldn't. No, it doesn't, honestly.
If it's got rigor mortis, it'll definitely bounce.
No.
It'll be hard.
No.
If you drop a cat with rigor mortis, it would definitely bounce.
No, it wouldn't. I'd only buy cheese that I can actually see.
If you love the Two Mikes podcast, you'll love the live show. Weekday overnights from 1am on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM and via the TalkSport app. TalkSport, your Premier League station with exclusive commentaries every weekend.
What an absolute corker!
TalkSport.
You great steaming pillock!